We ready, gentlemen?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Today is Monday, May the 3rd, and I'm going to call the meeting to order of our Flagler County Board of County Commissioners, and I would ask that you join us in the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The dog. And please join us in a moment of silence as we think about and pray for and remember all of those that serve us here in Flagler County, the brave men and women of our Flagler County Sheriff's Department, all of our local law enforcement agencies, as well, of course, all of our first responders, Flagler County Fire Service, Fire and Rescue, and all the fire and rescue services throughout our county. And, of course, we can never forget the brave men and women of the United States military that serve us here and abroad. So please join us. Okay, thank you. First up, it looks like we need to talk about, I don't believe we have any additions or deletions to the agenda, so we're good there. Some announcements from the chair. An announcement that on this coming Wednesday, May the 5th at 9 a.m., we're happy to participate in a ribbon cutting for our sheriff's new District 2 office located at 14 Palm Harbor Village Way in Palm Coast. Then also on Thursday, May the 9th, from noon to 1:30, the city of Bunnell invites everyone to join in celebrating National Day of Prayer at the Carver Gym, located at 201
Chairman,
East.
you
Yeah.
said May 9th, May 6th.
I apologize, May 6th, Thursday, May 6th. Thank you, sir. So that National Day of Prayer service or celebration is at the Carver Gym, which is on Drain Street in Bunnell. And then on Friday, May the 7th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the University of Florida IFAS Extension Flagler County Master Gardeners Program invites you to a plant sale and educational event, which is at our extension offices, which are located at 150 Sawgrass Road in Bunnell, which is adjacent to the fairgrounds. And also, the sheriff would like to remind everyone that there's also a memorial for the sheriff's fallen officers, which will be Thursday. That's during the lifetime of the sheriff's department here in Flagler County. And that's going to be Thursday, May the 13th, and that's 7:30 p.m., right around sundown, at the courthouse, or you can participate in that on Facebook Live as well. And then lastly, the next upcoming commission meeting is scheduled for Monday, May the 17th, and that'll be our regularly scheduled 5 p.m. meeting. So that takes care of announcements. We'll move into first item on the agenda of business, which is recognitions, proclamations, and presentations. We have a few. First up is a proclamation recognizing Motorcycle Awareness Month for this month. And Commissioner Hanson, if you would help us out with that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A proclamation by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming May 2021 as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month in Flagler County. Whereas motorcycle riding is a popular form of efficient transportation and recreation for more than 1 million people in Florida. And whereas it is important that the drivers of all vehicles be aware of one another and learn to share the road and practice courtesy. And whereas motorcycles provide a means of transportation that uses fewer resources, causes less wear and tear on public roadways, and increases available parking areas. And whereas it is especially important that citizens of Florida be aware of motorcycles on the streets and highways and recognize the importance of motorcycle safety. And whereas the safety hazards created by automobile operators who have not been educated to watch for motorcyclists on the streets and highways are of prime concern to motorcyclists. And whereas the American Bikers Aim Toward Education, ABATE, of Florida Vintage Chapter represents Flagler County, the town of Beverly Beach, the town of Hastings, the St. Augustine Beach, the city of St. Augustine, the city of Flagler Beach, the city of Bunnell, the city of Palm Coast, and St. Johns County, is an organization that is actively promoting the safe operation, increased rider training, and increased motorist awareness of motorcycles. And whereas it is important to recognize the need for awareness on the part of all drivers, especially with regard to sharing the road with motorcycles, and to honor motorcyclists' many contributions to the communities in which they live and ride. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby declare the month of May 2021 as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month, and encourage all residents of Flagler County to be aware of motorcycles on our streets. Adopted this third day of May 2021, attested by Tom Bexley, the clerk of the court, and our comptroller, and signed by Flagler County Board of Commissioners Chairman Don O'Brien.
Do we have anyone here from any of the organizations? We do not. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve proclaiming May 2021 as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, thank you, Commissioner. That motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have a recognition of National Travel and Tourism Week, which is, of course, very important to us here in Flagler County, to our economy and to our folks. And Commissioner Sullivan, please
Thank you,
help.
Mr. Chairman. Proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners designating the week of May 2nd through 8th, 2021 as National Travel and Tourism Week in Flagler County. Whereas the power of travel has been a consistent driver of Flagler County's economy and workforce, and whereas a robust travel industry provides significant economic benefits for the nation, generating more than $2.6 trillion in economic output in 2019 and $1.1 trillion spent directly by travelers in the United States. And whereas travel has been the foundation of a healthy workforce, serving as one of the largest private sector employers in the United States and supporting 17 million jobs in 2019. And whereas spending by travelers has aided state and local governments alike, generating $180 billion in tax revenue in 2019 to support essential services and programs. And whereas travel and tourism dependent businesses and organizations, 83% of which are small businesses, are responsible for welcoming visitors from all around the world to explore Flagler County and all our country has to offer. And whereas last year the coronavirus pandemic devastated every sector of the travel industry with staggering declines in 2020 compared to 2019, affecting every community in the country, including Flagler County. And whereas the state of Florida experienced severe losses in 2020, where spending by domestic and international travelers declined 41%, shuttering many local businesses and putting our residents out of work. And whereas due to the decline in spending, federal, state, and local tax receipts declined by 31%, jeopardizing jobs and public programs, which we need more than ever as we work towards recovery. Whereas the rebound of travel will drive the rebuilding of the United States economy and American workforce. And whereas travel and tourism significantly affects the economy of Flagler County, supporting over 5,000 jobs in 2020, generating over $4 million in economic impact by visitor spending, and bringing over $2.3 million in revenue solely from the bed tax in 2020. And whereas travel is a pillar of economic growth, creating jobs at a faster rate than other sectors, and whereas May 2nd through 8th, 2021 is being observed across the nation and the state of Florida as National Travel and Tourism Week. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners to proclaim May 2nd through 8th, 2021 as National Travel and Tourism Week in Flagler County, and urge the citizens to join me in recognizing the critical effort and significant contribution that tourism brings to Flagler County. Adopted this third day of May 2021, attested Tom Bexley, Clerk of Circuit Court and Controller, and signed by our Chairman, Donald T. O'Brien. And I will hand that to Amy. So thank you all very much. Doing a great job.
And welcome ladies, we have our tourism director, Ms. Amy Lukasik, and a lot of blue shirts.
Yeah, we all got the memo. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Sullivan, our TDC Board Chairman. Normally, this week, we dedicate our efforts and focus toward educating the community and the residents about the importance of tourism. We usually do that in the form of a breakfast or a luncheon. However, after this crazy year that we've had with our industry and our hospitality workers, we felt strongly to shift those efforts and focus and really honor those frontline workers who show up day in and day out to service our visitors and our residents. And if you recall, a couple months ago, I was up here doing a presentation of our 2020 research, and we had a satisfaction rating from our visitors of 9.1 out of 10. And the vendor that did the research for us said that's one of the highest ones they've ever seen in the state of Florida. So we have our industry workers to thank for that. And so what we've done this year is do a few little different highlights and focus on the workers. So one of the things that we did is we partnered with the city of Flagler Beach, and as you enter the city, right before you go over the bridge, or if you come in from the south side, we have the lighted message boards that say, "Thank you to our amazing hospitality workers." So just as they're coming to work, we hope that they'll see that and know that we do appreciate them. We also had a poster made saying thank you to our workers, and that'll be here in the GSB building. And then all throughout the week, we are going to pack up our cars and go visit as many tourism businesses as we can. So all the lodgers, we're going to bring them goodie baskets so that they can put in the break room for their workers. It's just a small way to say thank you. So we have a card thanking them as well. And then we have these travel bags, since they're in the travel industry, and encourage them to take a vacation when they can. It'll be filled with a lot of goodies and thank yous for them. So we have ordered 1,000 of these, and we are going to be hand delivering them and thanking them all this week. And then we have a video as well that we'll be promoting on social media, and we have a press release coming out. But Jared, you can go ahead and cue the video.
The power of travel is priceless. It has the power to excite the kid in us all, inspire a deeper love of nature, reunite us with our loved ones, reignite our sense of adventure, and recharge our minds and bodies. The key to these powerful experiences are the hardworking people in the travel and hospitality industry, and we want to say thank you. Thank you for being a welcoming face. Thank you for being so resilient. Thank you for giving our visitors a lifetime of memories. Thank you for fueling the power of travel.
So we asked businesses to send us photos of their staff. So these are all the ones that participated. So I would be remiss, save the best for last, which is this awesome
The
staff
power of travel is priceless.
that we could not do what we do as good as we do it without Deborah Naughton, Nina Dessner, Candy Breckenridge, and Christina Hutzel. And of course, it takes a village. We have a fantastic, supportive Board of County Commissioners, a TDC staff, the tax collector's office, the other municipality boards, on and on and on. It takes a village. All the organizations that we partner with, we thank them and we thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Hey, thank you, Ms. Amy. Any questions or comments, Commissioners?
Just a thank you for all you did for the songwriters this weekend. It was a fabulous week of just wonderful performances, and thank you for supporting that.
Absolutely. We want to identify those signature events that we can continue to support and makes us unique from our neighbors.
I just wanted to say that during the COVID crisis, you also were put into action to get those checks out to the various businesses and people in the
Yes.
county, so that was kind of an extra task.
Christina Hutzel was basically a circus performer. She jumped through hoops, literally, each and every day to get those businesses everything that we needed to get them the checks. So thank you to her for that.
I want to recognize the video. That was pretty impressive, and to focus so strongly on Flagler Beach, an area that needs tourism, that has really suffered. Those businesses out there are screaming for help, and that's a great job. There's been I've heard people say in the past, the county doesn't focus on it enough. That video shows what we really do, and it's a great job. The travel and hospitality industry has taken a huge, huge hit over the last 12 months, and Florida being so important with tourism, that's our number one economic driver. To have leaders and a team like you guys is making Flagler one of the greatest counties in the state of Florida. And
Thank you for your support.
If we're going to do, I'll make a motion if we're going to do photo too. I'll make a motion to approve the proclamation designated May 2nd through 8th, 2021 as National Travel and Tourism Week.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, that motion carries. Would you, ladies, please take a photo with us? Thanks.
Thank
Great
you all.
job, guys. Great job. Yeah, ladies.
All right.
Okay. Next up is a recognition of Historic Preservation Month, which is also we're declaring for this month. And I think Commissioner Dance, if you could help with that, appreciate it. Mike? Yeah.
I can borrow. Oh, there it goes. Phew, I got to step away. This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing May 2021 as National Historic Preservation Month in Flagler County. Whereas Preservation Month began as National Preservation Week in 1973, and in 2005, the National Trust extended its celebration to the entire month of May and declared it Preservation Month to provide an even greater opportunity to celebrate the diverse and unique heritage of our countries, cities, and states. And whereas the first presidential preservation proclamation stated, as the pace of change accelerates in the world around us, Americans more than ever need a lively awareness of our roots and origins in the past on which to base our sense of identity in the present and our directions for the future. And whereas Flagler County continues to discover and celebrate the county's diverse cultural heritage found in irreplaceable places that hold the stories of all Americans. And whereas Flagler County recognizes the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation, that is a statewide preservation nonprofit that promotes the preservation and the inclusive sharing of the diverse architectural, historical, and archaeological heritage of Florida. And whereas the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation benefits historic communities like Flagler County through advocacy, connection, education, and stewardship. And whereas the theme for the annual 2021 Preservation on Main Street Conference sponsored by the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation and Florida Main Street is Reimagining the Road Ahead. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners does recognize May 2021 as National Historic Preservation Month in Flagler County and urges all citizens to recognize and participate in this special observance, adopted this third day of May 2021.
Welcome. I'm assuming you're Jenny.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I am. I'm Jenny Wolf. I'm Historic Preservation Officer for the City of St. Augustine, but I'm here today in my role as the Vice President of the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation. And also with me today are representatives from your regional council, which includes Flagler County and St. Johns County and other area counties. And we just wanted to share with you some of the work that we are doing through a brief presentation. So thank you for allowing us this opportunity. So first of all, I just wanted to share with some folks what is historic preservation, because it is a lot of things. And in following up on tourism, I hope that you'll pick up on some of the connections that heritage and historic preservation makes with your tourism industry. So really, when we think about historic preservation, it's engaging in a conversation with the past that helps to guide our future by recognizing the historic spaces and places and objects that really make our communities significant. The Florida Trust has been around since 1978. Its first goal was to save the Florida Capitol, historic Florida Capitol building. So we have been around. It is based in Tallahassee with a few permanent staff up there. But otherwise, across the state of Florida, we are a volunteer group. Our mission is to promote the preservation and the inclusive sharing of Florida's diverse architectural, historical, and archaeological heritage. And we do that by advocating, by connecting, by educating, and by being a good steward. As far as our regional councils, we're in Regional 3, which is in the northeast part of Florida. I am the regional ambassador, and we do have several council members between those counties. And with us today, especially we're noting the Flagler County representatives, and we have some with us today, and I would like to recognize Mr. Ed Sarkowitz, who unfortunately is not with us today because of the passing of his father, and we are definitely sending him our thoughts and prayers. But you do have access to the Florida Trust, and all of us represented here and the names on the screen. We're happy to help you to do anything that we can to advocate, whether that's through workshops, writing letters of support, helping you with grant applications. Those are all things that we can do, as well as to listen to what your concerns are with your regional focus. The toolbox that you have, I think one of the most important things is recognizing that there is a connection between historic preservation and tourism. I can speak for St. Augustine in saying that we did a recent study that found that our heritage assets contributes $2.9 billion to the tourism industry. And that is a significant amount. And that was done by a national study. And that's something that Flagler County could really do, and to help quantify that so that you can promote heritage tourists to come more and recognize what is significant in your area. I also have a list of Florida Trust upcoming events that I encourage you to check out. I do have a Historic Preservation Month toolkit that I'll leave here with you all, and if anyone wants to email me that's listening or watching, we can certainly share that as well. In Flagler County, I wanted to point out that the state inventory reflects that you have 982 sites that are recorded. Of the other counties in the area, it is a little bit low, so there is some more that we can do to help celebrate those sites by just documenting them and doing an inventory, because that creates more recognition for them, creates more opportunities for grant funding, and more reasons to celebrate that heritage. So again, my name is Jenny Wolf. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have either for the Regional Council or for the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation. And I do want to say thank you for all of the wonderful partnerships that you all have within the county that are working very hard to promote your heritage.
We do have some questions, Jenny, if that's
Okay.
okay. So I think
Sure.
Commissioner Hanson
Yeah, Jenny, do you all maintain the dig over at Bing's Landing? Is that one of your jobs?
To maintain the which landing?
The dig at Bing's Landing? The
No,
fund?
that was, I believe that was the St. August, or there was an archaeological association that did that with state grant funds.
Okay. But I noticed you had a picture of it here on your
Yes,
presentation.
because I wanted to point out that that's a unique archaeological
It is,
site.
it is.
That, and not all people remember that sites are part of
Mm-hmm.
historic preservation. It's not just about buildings.
Thank you, Jenny.
Jenny, I want to first point out how crucial and important it is to preserve these sites, and we appreciate the work all you guys do. James, you're probably one of our leading people in this county that protects and defends the history, the rich history of this area. I grew up in an area where history is preserved. We've got a little golf course that has some of the greatest history in the world with the Augusta National, and I truly believe that holding on to that is important to tell the story. And the work y'all have done in St. Augustine is phenomenal. Y'all been able to grow the community, but yet preserve what makes it St. Augustine. The question I have is, Flagler County, where do you think we are tapping into what you guys have been able to tap into? I know you said we really haven't, but when I got here, I didn't see Flagler as a historical place because we just don't tout it as much as we should. But where do you see us rating?
I think it's pretty high up there when you look at, I know included in your packet was a brochure of all of the sites that participate as part of your cultural heritage destinations. And I think that what can be done more effectively, which I hope that we can do by developing these regional councils, is to connect, to be a way that we can bring those groups together to have a voice and to help bring them opportunities that they may not be aware of. I have applied for many grants through the Florida Division of Historical Resources. That's how we get a lot of work done in a city that's small. In St. Augustine, it's only 14,000 residents. So we have a low tax base, and we have to get grant funds. So that's one of the biggest assets that I think that our regional council can bring, is having a collective identity that helps get all of the brain trust together and just really look at how we can work better together.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, yes, thanks for the presentation. The one question I have is that I've been off and on, we've had a Heritage Roads group here in the county. I know that Danielle's here and really has done A1A and having it designated in the past year, so on and so forth. But I have a feeling that the people who are running that Heritage group have been in and out. Are you connected in any way to the Heritage Roads Florida group?
Is this the Kings Road?
Yeah, old Dick's, the old Brick Road and old Kings Road, that kind of thing. I just wonder if there's, when you're talking coordination, I think that's an area where maybe there could be better coordination.
Yes, and I'll be happy to work with them on doing that. One of the tools you have with historic preservation is looking at a cultural landscapes survey.
Right, kind of ties into our historic bus tour and that kind of thing. Okay, so the answer is, there is a, go ahead and say something. Yeah. I'm a board member. Okay, right. Give me an update.
I'm James Fisk. I'm a new board member of the Heritage Crossroads Miles of History, as is Ed Sharkovitz.
Okay.
And so we're rapidly doing everything we can under the COVID thing to have more of an impact on tourism and history here in Flagler County.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Microphone.
Heritage Crossroads and Scenic A1A are both Florida Scenic Highways. And so if there could be more of an effort to kind of focus on the opportunities among the Florida Scenic Highways. We have 2 of them here in our county, which is kind of unheard of. So it could be something that we could use as an economic driver and a tourism draw for folks.
Commissioner Dance, you finished?
I'm done.
Commissioner, thank you. Commissioner Dance, I know you wanted to.
Thank you. I was hoping Armando was going to visit with us today, but I guess not. He was busy. I just wanted to take a minute to recognize the Flagler County Historical Society and the work that they've done in the past and continue to do. The Kings Road Historic District is an important new area that we're trying to work on and preserve. Includes Fort Fulton and Hewitt Sawmill, with connections to the Ag Museum and that whole quadrant up in the northwest. So just look forward to continuing working with you to preserve as much as we can. Not just the historical buildings, but you mentioned the cultural landscape, historic landscapes, and ecosystems as well.
And Jenny, you had mentioned a toolkit. Does that have media materials in it? And
Yes, it does. It has this great graphic that you can all use, encourage people to use if they're, a lot of people like social media, go out there, take a picture in front of one of your favorite places, add the hashtags on there. But our toolkit also includes ways to celebrate Historic Preservation Month. And one of those is doing what we're doing today. But it could be, and I'll leave that here, recognizing your historic restaurants. You know, not just that the Lions restaurant is a great place to eat, but that's a really significant place that's been around for a long time. So it's looking at those other things to help educate other people as to why they should go and visit those places and celebrate them.
great, I look forward to our communication folks getting those materials so we can keep going forward with this stuff, with information for our community. So any other questions?
One other thing. You know, something that came to mind, Old Brick Road, that's such a beautiful and hidden treasure we have. I've seen areas turn around and do straw markets down them, do kind of fruit stands or just things, something to draw people to them and park and then just kind of walk through. We've got just unlimited potential here to focus on our assets and do things. And I got to mention, I left Danielle out, A1A. I mean, you don't think of that road without you. So just all the work you guys do, I appreciate it. But focusing a little on Old Brick Road would be really an asset because that's unique, walking down and seeing the bricks and the history behind it.
That's how I actually first met Danielle, is serving on the board of the Scenic A1A.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else?
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, Councilman, my name is James Fisk. I'm the curator and director of the Flagler County Historical Society. I would like to first offer the regrets of our Historical Society President, Ed Sharkwitz, who could not be present today, and she mentioned as to the reason why. The history of Flagler County is very unique and special. In 2019, 15 local museums and history groups formed the Flagler County Preservation Society to preserve history and promote history tourism locally. As we move forward through 2021, we will continue to work on new projects. Right now, we're working on the restoration of a 1955 Dolores Dean dollhouse that is right next to the Holden House Museum. The placement of the 1916 Seventh-day Adventist Church next to the Holden House Museum. And this will create the formation of not just a local, but the Florida Women's Voting Rights Museum. That's right, Florida Voting Rights Museum. There's no other voting rights museum in the state of Florida. I want to introduce Preston Zepp, who is also a new member of the Flagler County Historical Society, who has a little bit more.
Thanks, Mr. Fisk.
Hi, I'm kind of the new guy in the old game here, but I do most of my work up at the Kings Road Historic District, which has already been said, includes Fort Fulton, which is 1840, a section of Kings Road, the original Kings Road, and Hewitt Sawmill, which was burned down in the Patriot War. We're working on doing programs out there. We want to teach kids. I'm a big old tool fan, and I want to teach them how tools were used back then compared to all this electronic stuff that's just wasteful today. With the Flagler County Historic Society, We want to get more education on where they come from, the history of this county. And you've got people that were born here and have no idea about the history that is here, what made up their ancestors. 1918 Holden House Museum and the History Annex, there is just centuries of history there. Nobody knows it's there. That's something we need to change. Once COVID-19 is over, we're going to expand the bus tours, and Armando, my character, the German sawmill foreman Johann, might attack the bus and take everybody on a tour of what was going on here. Ed wanted me to say that we are pleased that our president has been offered a seat on the District 3 Council for the Florida Historic Trust. He's excited to work with Ms. Wolf and Ms. Anderson to tell the Flagler County story and to make an impact on youth and their families. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for coming today and for the presentation. We appreciate it, and it's important that our citizens make sure that, that we have this information out there and available to them so we can take advantage and understand, what we have right here in our community that, as you said, most folks don't really know or understand. So, would you mind taking a photo with us?
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion to approve?
Please.
Motion to approve the proclamation, Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing May 2021 as National Historic Preservation Month in Flagler County.
Second.
All those
Aye.
in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. None opposed.
Thought we were in a Zoom meeting. Oh, no.
One more. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. We've done 4C1, too.
Okay. I believe we kind of melded two things there, Commissioners, two agenda items, which was the proclamation and then the presentation. So with that, we'll move on to our second presentation today, which is from the Northeast Florida Regional Council. And that update is going to be presented by Elizabeth Payne, the CEO of the council.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Elizabeth.
I love following up on other great regional agencies that come and talk to you, so that was very exciting. Thank you so much for having me here, and I drove down from Jacksonville this morning, so I think I feel the pain of our board members who sit here, Commissioner Sullivan and Mullins, as they have to make the trek up to Jacksonville, so I much appreciate your dedication. Like I said, I'm Beth Payne, I'm the CEO of the Regional Council. I'm also here with Tyler Nolan, who is our LAPC coordinator, and he's also our staff liaison. So we have a staff liaison to each county in our region, so you used to see his face in person, and he's been coming back, but he's the one who attends your meetings and kind of keeps up with things in the county, so we have an understanding of what's going on in Flagler County. I'm going to go through this quickly. There's more slides, but I wanted you to have it in your packet, so I'm happy to follow up at a later date with any questions. Just a little bit of a reminder of who we are. There are 10 of us in the state of Florida. We cover 7 counties in Northeast Florida. We are established by an interlocal agreement signed by all of our counties, and we're also in Florida statute and created for some multi-purpose coordination efforts. We have a 35-member board of directors. I mentioned Commissioner Sullivan and Mullins sit on our board. There's an additional third of those members that are appointed by the governor, and we also have a few ex officio members of our state agencies that we do the most work with. Our leadership rotates around the region, as you might expect. Mayor Robinson from Bunnell was our president a few years ago. Right now, it's Mayor Sean Lynch from the town of Baldwin. We have a Putnam County Commissioner who was our incoming president, and we have a standing second vice president position that goes to the city of Jacksonville. As a regional agency, our mission is probably what you think it is. We do have a lot of coordination and collaboration. We convene, all of these smart people and these agencies that can solve problems and assist in any way that we can. Our budget this year was about $3 million. That fluctuates, by $1 million or so every year, depending on our grant opportunities, and our local county dues make up about 20% of our budget. There's 13 of us at the Regional Council, so I like to say we're small and mighty, and we can get a lot done with those set of folks. Some folks are jacks of all trades, and some are very specialized. You'll notice we have a resiliency coordinator, something that we've worked with Flagler County quite a bit on in recent months. So a few of our main programs, which is one of the reasons I have Tyler here, he's going to just talk to you real briefly about the work that he does, which is in the emergency preparedness field. One of those things we do, which is our largest program, is the Healthcare Coalition. This is to fund and to maintain disaster preparedness in our healthcare community across, in this case, 18 counties. So it's really about information sharing, it's about preparedness, it's about recovery. We have about 700 members representing 500 facilities across the 18 counties of North Florida. One of the biggest things we do is we give away project funding. So over the last several years, we've given out over $600,000 to our healthcare facilities. It's a competitive process. I guess most recently, in fiscal year 1920, Flagler County Health Department did receive $17,000 for some oxygen tanks and carts and different things. So we try to help in any way that we can our facilities be resilient in a disaster. And these days, it's a pandemic, so it's really anything moving forward. So let me pass this to Tyler real quick.
Morning. As Ms. Payne mentioned, I run the LEPC, which stands for the Local Emergency Planning Committee for Hazardous Materials. This is a nationwide thing that was authorized as the Superfund Amendment and Reauthorization Act in 1986. However, here in the state of Florida, we do it a little bit differently. Instead of an all hazards approach, we covered specifically hazardous materials. As you see, I got 3 members from Flagler County that participate in our board, Chief Insulaco, Jonathan Lord, and Chief Pace from Flagler Beach Fire Department. You can see the trainings that we provide. This goes on an ongoing basis every year. And one of the things that we're actually able to do with your county dues is, instead of having to use money that comes in for training for any other purpose other than training, it's a straight pass-through. Every dollar that I get for hazardous material training gets turned back to our counties and goes right back into training. We don't touch it at all. It's strictly the training for our first responders. So you can see some of the classes that have been brought here recently. We actually have an updating class. It's going to be a radiation training class coming in first week of September for all of your fire department personnel. One of the things we were actually able to do this year is get you 4 radiation meters to be spread around your county. So what this is as we all know, Northeast Florida has a very high medical program, as well as you have your major hospital here. One of the things is that radiation is shipped pretty regularly. So we wanted to have a way for your first responders, should they show up in an incident, be able to understand if radiation is present, because it can be seen in a lot of low level through medical equipment. So we were actually able to acquire 4 of these, give them over to Jonathan Lord. He was able to disperse them around the county and get your first responders trained on the system. So in total, this was about $3,000 worth of equipment that was provided to you at no cost. I'm going to turn this back over to Ms. Payne. Thank you.
We also do some regional evacuation planning. So we have worked with, we're kind of the conduit between the Division of Emergency Management and the National Hurricane Center in passing the data through to our local governments and to your emergency management staff to better understand storm surge in the community and do evacuation zones. That, in fact, is ongoing right now, and we expect the final update to be ready for hurricane season. And like Tyler said, we do training and exercises. It's just one of the components of planning, training, and exercise that our staff is a part of. Really, we like to say that's kind of really the cool programs of the council. And we also do a lot of other things. We have some planning and policy work that's done across the council. Commissioner Sullivan acts as the chair of the LCB, which is the Transportation Disadvantage Program. We do that for 7 counties in Northeast Florida. We do also a lot of local government technical assistance for our small communities Most recently, we've worked with the town of Beverly Beach on their ear-based amendments to their comprehensive plan, so we also kind of have our hands in that these days. Resilience, I think you all have heard a lot about and is really the buzzword of the day. We've done a lot of that since about 2013. Certainly, it has come full force these last few years, and certainly this year with the moves of the legislature to continue that program. Northeast Florida Regional Council will continue our efforts. We have had educational resources for many years, and we go out and do presentations on what resiliency is. That's not as needed as it used to be, since it's in everyone's lexicon and it's really out there. But we still do that to a variety of Rotary clubs and homeowners associations and local governments, or really almost anybody who wants it will accommodate. We have an online exposure tool which helps businesses and residents understand their vulnerabilities and their exposures to different sea level rise and flooding vulnerabilities. Certainly you all have heard about, and it's coming to a close now, but we worked with your county on a DEP resiliency grant to take your comprehensive plan and do some statutory requirements, peril of flood. You guys have a really unique and fantastic look at the way your county works with your municipalities. I mean, the fact that you do this in lockstep and that you all work together and collaborate, that is not the norm across the state of Florida. So we are happy to work on a project like this and to see your level of coordination. I think it puts you guys out in front of a lot of things, and you can get things done much easier by working together with your municipality. So we have much enjoyed that progress, and I do believe that the final document, I think, was given maybe at the end of last week. So it's coming before you if you don't see it soon enough. So we've enjoyed that $50,000 grant that we got to work on you all with. Hopefully that will lead to additional work in Flagler on resilience. You guys are poised, I think, in Northeast Florida as the county to really get moving and take this forward. You guys do a lot of great work on your beach restoration and have great plans in place. So we're looking forward to helping how we can. Economic development. We do a lot of work with the EDA. We get funding to maintain a SEDS plan, which allows counties like Flagler and Northeast Florida to apply for EDA grants. We've been working with some of your staff, and this is really the time. EDA was allocated a lot of money with the CARES Act, a lot more money with the new American Rescue. We're waiting to see what their priorities are, but even in hearing about some of your travel and tourism, I mean, there are really some potential opportunities for, grant dollars and things that can help with this economic development issue and recognizing these unique assets. Always want to remind you all that we have software that does impact forecasts for projects. This is a program that we use and are licensed to use in the state of Florida, and we do this free of charge for our member governments. This can really help you all get an understanding when projects are, potential projects may locate in the county. We can run one of these REMI models and give you an idea of the kind of population and employment and growth in your GDP about that business development idea. And it also shows those spillover effects, how many other jobs could be created as a result of this project. So I like to bring this up because there are some counties in the region that really use it and love to have that information their boards do to help them get a better understanding of, the benefit to their county. So I just encourage you all to keep that in mind as you're, moving through the economic development cycle over the next few years. We've done quite a few using REMI, these COVID-19 impact reports, to help better understand the impact on Northeast Florida. We have a third rendition coming out in a couple weeks to kind of show our progression based against the state of Florida as well as national numbers. So this is just a sample. We all know those industries that were hardest hit because of this, but it's been interesting to look back over the last couple cycles to see how that's changed. I think Northeast Florida is in a good position overall across the country. So again, it all comes back to resilience. It's more than economic development these days. It's about economic resilience. And again, we've been funded by the Economic Development Administration to work on plans and programs to help us respond and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. We formed a task force. You'll see here our really diverse membership. We have Ms. Denise Bevan from the city of Palm Coast who sits on that task force. And there's been all sorts of documentation put together by staff to really understand the pandemic and its impacts. I believe that we've had staff present to you all on this plan. But what you will see soon is our final plan will be adopted by our board this week. So you all will get to see it first to really understand those policy recommendations we have to assist local governments and the region recover from the pandemic. And again, this just opens up kind of the floodgates of funding, the ability to apply for these EDA grants. This is one of those things that's kind of a prerequisite to do. So we're really looking forward to what comes out of this. And again, this is in closing, this is just leading towards this idea of community resilience. You know, it's more than just hurricanes these days. We're dealing with a pandemic, but resiliency is more than just sea level rise. We understand that. I see broadband is on your agenda. It's about broadband. It's about mental health. It's about affordable housing. It's about regional infrastructure. So there really is a lot of things that tie together. Really here to say that the Regional Council is here. We have the ability to be flexible, to work on these issues, and I encourage you all, through your board members, to engage us in things you might need. You all do pay a membership fee to be a part of the council. We're here to do work for you. We're trying to meet people where they are. We do great programs. We have great things going on, but we want to give you all what you need. So if there's programs or projects you think we can assist with, that's what we're here to do. So please take advantage of that and see us as a resource to get things done that your staff just may not have time to get to. You guys are a small county with a lot of things going on, so we're happy to help in any way we can. So with that, I know I kind of really talked and blew through that, but I wanted to give you kind of an understanding of the diversity of things that we do and the diversity of things that you can call us about to assist with. So I'm going to leave it at this. We all recognize that individual efforts we can be running uphill, but if we kind of do it together, a lot of times we have more success. So thank you all for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Payne. We do have some questions or comments, so Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you, Ms. Payne, for the presentation. You know, you're doing great work. I wanted to point out, I believe that since the budget is done, the attempt to do away with regional councils in Florida, I guess, this latest was died in conference, so that's
Yes, sir.
good. And the RIMI information that you provide, the latest one, I think we got in February, I did bring back to the staff. I think there's a lot of good data in there that can be helpful. I know that our county administrator got that and took a look at it. And this latest report will kind of pull that all together in a report. And I think that'll be helpful for a number of our, here on our staff. So thank you very much from my point.
Ms. Payne, I want to thank you as well. It is an honor to serve on that committee and that group. And I want to reiterate to my fellow commissioners, let us know when we go up there if there's anything, because this group will really help drive it home and push it if there's any issue there. One thing is, for example, is the resiliency. They've been really key in pushing that, the broadband, and some of the different things that we've pushed. So just let us know and we'll go up there and there'll be a strong voice for us. You know, I want to also say we just had the Tri-County meeting with Putnam, St. John's, and Flagler, and you guys were a great part of that, helping us step out of the way and helping us have that meeting so we didn't interfere with the other meeting, our meeting. But one thing that we from being on that group that's helped us realize is there are issues like opioid crisis, mental health, just economic, roads, infrastructure that we need to regionally look at, and we need to all work together. 100 goes through, all the way through to Putnam. So just the efforts of us coming together, and Jacksonville is doing some phenomenal things. Just the latest announcement of their football team and who all they acquired is spilled down all the way through here. I'm having people, the excitement, the energy that's going, the businesses that come in, how it impacts Flagler, St. John's, and just the tourism, the TPC coming in, it impacts us. The Georgia, Florida, when the greatest football team in the world comes in to play Florida, the impact that it has down here, because I see so much. But being able to collaborate together and work together is important. And, I think our beaches, our Flagler Beach and that area, to be able, Jacksonville, to offer something that beautiful is a benefit for both. It's a win-win for both. So thank you for bringing it together.
The economic impact study, you haven't released that yet?
So we have 2 versions. We're going to release a 3rd version in the next few weeks, but we can absolutely get that out.
Yeah,
again.
Mr. Cameron, if we're not on, if, I know Commissioner Sullivan and Mullins would get it, but if we're not on the distribution list, can you make sure that we get that, please? Sure,
Absolutely.
appreciate it. All right. I don't think we had,
On that Remy thing, I did route that.
okay, I'm just making sure. You get a lot of emails
I was going to
sometimes,
say,
but
lots of paperwork.
I like hard
I'm
copy.
particularly interested in seeing that. and-
Okay, great.
and looking at when that comes out.
Absolutely.
So, all right, I don't think we have any other questions, so again,
Yeah.
thank
I
you for
appreciate it.
your time today. Appreciate it. Okay, next up, we have a presentation from the Florida Department of Financial Services, and we should have Ms. Margaret Rieger. And thank you, Ms. Rieger, for emailing me and asking to come down. Appreciate it, and glad we could work it out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, for giving me this time to speak to you guys today. I'd like to quickly introduce myself. My name is Margaret Rieger. I am the Northeast Regional Representative for State Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Petronas. My region does go south down to Flagler County and west over to Jefferson, so I have all of Northeast Florida. I am the liaison between here and Tallahassee. I am based out of Jacksonville, so I'm more local in order to serve my counties better. Tried and true Floridian, not quite born and raised. My dad was in the Navy when I was younger, but my role is to come share information from our office and bring things back to Tallahassee. As hurricane season is coming up, I wanted to share a few resources that we have for emergency preparedness. Everyone knows when a storm is coming that they need, water, batteries, everything like that. Most people don't think about the financial side of things as well, making sure that your insurance is in line. You have all of your passwords and information for your bank accounts, a pretty decent inventory of your possessions if you should sustain damage. Everyone has things online. We still advocate, we have this online, an emergency financial preparedness toolkit that is a convenient resource to have everything in one place. We do still advocate people to print it out because when a storm comes, one thing you often don't have is power or service. So it's just kind of peace of mind to be able to have everything in one place. After the storm is our biggest help that we can provide for citizens. We are over the Department of Insurance Regulation under the Department of Financial Services. So we have a lot of resources when people aren't really sure what to do dealing with insurance. You can call our hotline. We can help people file a claim. If people have complaints with their insurance company, we can assist them with that. If there is fraud to report, we can also assist with that. Really anything that you need, any questions you have, if your agent is backed up or if you're just not really sure of what's going on, our dedicated agents are there to help everyone in the state to deal with something that hopefully they don't have to deal with that often and aren't very used to. So I wanted to share a few phone numbers and email or websites that will help people when this happens. The Florida Department of Financial Services Disaster Assistance is 1-800-22-STORM or 850-413-3089. The State of Florida Emergency Information Number is 1-800-342-3557. The Insurance Consumer Hotline is 1-877-MY-FL-CFO, which is 693-5236. And then we also have our websites, preparefl.com is for preparing for disasters. Really all of these resources and all of the insurance help is going to be at myfloridacfo.com. I also wanted to just bring to awareness, especially following the hospitality presentation and dealing with healthcare and stuff. We do other things in the state of Florida. while CFO Petronas is not in the legislature, we still have a lot of power to generate support for things that are important to our constituents. Back in March of 2020, when COVID first started, CFO Petronas made it one of his key missions to create protections for businesses based on COVID. We were afraid that there would be frivolous lawsuits based on sue and settle techniques, which would only target the tourism and hospitality industries that are already, under fire the most when COVID started and struggling the most. We successfully passed Senate Bill 72, House Bill 7. It was signed into law on March 31st by Governor DeSantis, which does successfully shield all those businesses in the form of COVID liability protections, and it included healthcare as well. So again, the tourism, hospitality are the most that suffered, the healthcare are the ones that have, worked the hardest, and we were able to successfully protect them and give them a little bit more peace of mind. And then I would like to finish up my quick presentation on the most fun thing. Under the Department of Financial Services, we cover unclaimed property, which for those unaware of what unclaimed property is, it is money that is owed to you that you don't know that you have. If you are owed a refund or potentially a deceased family member, something was not found and included in the will, if it's found later, the business is obligated by law to turn it over to the state. It is held in our treasury forever, but forever you are able to go and get it. So that's fltreasurehunt.gov. You just search your name. There's 1 in 5 Floridians that has unclaimed property that they're not aware of, which means statistically, one of you commissioners has money that you're not aware of.
Well, to interrupt you, I just last week found $640-something for my company. And in the past, I found several $1,000s for my company a few years ago. I also found money from my deceased mom and have referred a lot of friends and relatives to look at that site, and it's robust. And
What's the site again?
she'll tell you.
I'm writing it down.
It is fltreasurehunt.gov. And actually, I can reach out to our internal department. There's actually municipalities that can have money as well. I found a little bit over $2,000 for St. Johns County last week. So I can see if there's anything for Flagler County. If one of you wants to send me a list of maybe other organizations that are under you, I can have our internal department pull a list of anything that may be affiliated. We'll send it back. You can approve us, tell us, okay, these are ours, these ones aren't actually us. And we can definitely work on getting that money back to you and your citizens. So that pretty much wraps up my presentation. I do want to go ahead and, again, thank you for the time. Absolutely want to extend myself as a resource. If there's anything that you think might fall under financial services or anything that you're not sure of, absolutely reach out to me. I generally don't deal with the day-to-day, but my whole job is to connect you with people who can help you. And our office is really great, but if you do need a little bit of pressure to stay on people, more than happy to do that for any of you or the citizens of Flagler County. So if there's no questions, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. And, please pass on to CFO Petronas. He's doing a great job. He's a strong leader. He's had a very successful legislative season, and he's a strong advocate for the state of Florida, and we appreciate his service.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Looks like our last presentation for today is an update on our broadband initiative in Flagler County. And we have Mr. Salinas.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, my name for the record is Jorge Salinas, Chief of Staff. And today I'm going to be providing an update on broadband. And broadband services has been one of the policies priorities for the Board of Commissioners. Now the federal government and the state have started to fund this and through legislation help move this effort forward. Some of the areas that I'll be covering today is what is broadband, because there's multiple definitions for broadband. Broadband options that are available for this effort, legislation that has been going through the Florida legislature this past year, some funding opportunities that become available, and some providers that have been matched with these funding opportunities to help move this forward. Where we are as staff and working with Commissioner Mullins, and also the next steps ahead of us here. What is broadband? If we go around the room and try to seek an answer in terms of what is broadband, we most likely might get different answers for this question. However, the FCC defines broadband as download speeds of 25 megabits per second and upload speeds of 3 megabits per second. And this is a requirement that has been placed on the providers that have been matched with some of these fundings to provide broadband services. However, the Congress is considering up to 100 megabits per second and 50 megabits per second upload. Some of the broadband options that we have available range from geostationary high orbit satellites that are located about 23 kilometers above Earth. There's some challenges with that in terms of latency for the data to come from the satellite to the person receiving this information. And there's also climate and weather-related challenges that might be creating an obstacle for this to be a reliable means of broadband. In this space, we have Dish Network as one of the providers, and Hughes Network. Also, we have low-orbit satellites that are range about 130 miles above Earth. And within the space, we have space exploration with Starlink is one of the providers. Then you can see we have a list of other providers. 4G and 5G is where most of our mobile devices operate in. And 4G is about 100 to 300 megabits per second. And 5G is about 10 times that speed once it gets implemented. The other option that we are looking at is cable. And from Charter Spectrum perspective, they deploy broadband services through fiber from the hub to the node, and the node is the location closest to the home. And then from the home, which is the node to the home, it's provided via copper or coax cable. And then the most desirable solution is fiber to the home, but is also the most expensive way to delivering this broadband services. There are about 10 bills that been in process through this legislation, 3 that are focused on internet services and deployment. There are 2 that are focused on the use of poles and sales tax exemptions, and 2 that are focused on utilities and communications of pole. I'll be covering a few of these, specifically House Bill 753, Senate Bill 1560, and House Bill 1239. 753 revises the duty of the Florida Office of Broadband and establishes broadband opportunity program within the Department of Economic Opportunity. Senate Bill 1560 is mostly focused on trying to provide mapping services and determining where are some of the gaps and where the services have been provided, which is very important to be able to move this broadband effort forward. And then it's actually HB 1239, not SB, but House Bill 1239 was amended to remove the sales tax exemption from it and also favor or be in alignment with the Senate Bill 1560, which is basically focused on GIS mapping and trying to determine where the gaps are. Funding opportunities. There's a couple funding opportunities that we are looking into. First is the Federal Commission's Communications Commission Auction 904, where it has provided through something called the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, RDOF, has provided and assigned over $20 billion for the over 10 years for the deployment of broadband. And has separated these in 2 different phases. First phase has over $16 billion, and the second phase will have 4.4. The leftover from phase 1 will roll over to phase 2. And then from the American Rescue Act, which encourages the use of funds to further broadband, and that's some of the funds that we'll be receiving here in Flagler County, as most local governments will. We'll be coming back to the board with some projects that would allow us to move some projects forward through this funding. But also, it has a potential for us to use some of these dollars to help further broadband initiatives.
All right, just go back to that slide, excuse me, for a second, just so I understand. The money from the Rescue Act is different than this FCC auction 904, but there's still some of the FCC auction 904 money available.
Yes, there's separate funding mechanism. The auction 904 was provided through the bid process to multiple providers so they can actually acquire some segments to provide broadband to the rural areas. The rescue money, American Rescue, is different from that FCC auction money. But the rescue money allows beyond, also through extending utilities of water and sewer, but also broadband is considered part of that extension or that service that could be used for. Okay. Out of that, $20 billion were assigned nationwide. The state of Florida got, through this RDOF allocation, about $169 billion. And it was assigned through a bid process, an auction bid process, and 11 companies, corporations, were successful bidders in this process. Out of those 11, 3 were successfully bidding that actually got tracks within Flagler County, and that is CCO Holdings, which is Charter Spectrum Communications, Space Exploration, SpaceX, and then Windstream Services, LCC. You can see the amounts that were assigned for the state of Florida. There's a segment or a part of that, those fundings were assigned for Flagler County. I have it in the next slide. So for Flagler County, Charter Communications got over $1.2 million to deliver broadband services to about 385 locations. SpaceX got a little bit over $288,000 to deliver broadband services to 246 locations. And Windstream Services got over $90,000 to deliver broadband services to 6 locations. And this last one specifically is targeting or got approval for a track up close to Marineland. The other 2, Comcast and Space Exploration, got their allocation. The bidding was for the southwest part of the county and the west side of the county. Here's a map that the FCC put together for the allocation of these funds. As you can see on the green side, on the south and southwest of Bunnell, is what Charter was successfully in bidding and getting funding, that $1.2 million that I just described earlier. The red sections towards the west side of Bunnell are the ones that were allocated to space exploration. And that small green section close to Marineland is that Windstream company that got for the 6 sites up there. Our GIS department, led by Darlene, put together this additional map. We were working with Chris Bailey, which is a director of government services with Charter Communication, to help identify some of the coverage that they currently provide and also provide some of the gaps that they're planning to cover through these funding. As you can see on the top, on the northeast, on the upper right of this slide and the top of the slide, the yellow sections are where they currently provide broadband services. As we were looking into this, there was a surprise. I was surprised by the fact that if you look to the west side, that yellow block is actually Daytona North, which has Charter Communication provides broadband services to that location today. And then the green section, where we have all the dots, you can see the red dots are residential areas. With the expansion of this broadband through the RDOF bill, we can see that Charter Communication will be able to deliver broadband services to a large majority of the folks outside that currently don't have it on the south and southwest side of part of the county. There's some requirements for this build-out. So within the first 3 years, they have to complete 40% of the build-out. That's a requirement once they get these funding through this bidding process. By year 6, which is the end of phase 1, they have to complete 100% of that build-out. So where are we today? So on March 1st, the board directed Mr. Cameron to assign a point of contact to start looking into broadband. And I was assigned that role, and I'm working very closely with our CIO, Jared Shoup, to be helping move this broadband effort forward. Commissioner Mullins and staff had met with the broadband community group. Commissioner Mullins has also provided us contact information that he's been in contact with the vice president of charter communication, that they're very interested in working with us to help further this effort. Staff has attended various broadband webinars, and staff has also met with Spectrum a couple times now, Magellan Advisors, and the city of Palm Coast to also understand how they're planning to deploy fiber through the county. Next steps, we're going to be working on identifying the current gaps in where service needs to be provided. We're also going to be working on defining the scope of work to help move this program forward. And we'll continue to work and engage the broadband community group to ensure that we're addressing their needs. We're going to come back to the board to recommend some funding for broadband through the American Rescue Act fund allocation. And we'll continue to come to the board and provide updates on how this broadband service is moving forward. In summary, we talked about the different broadband speeds as defined by the FCC. It's very important to come from that point of view because that's the requirement that needs to be met. We also talk about broadband options, the multiple broadband options, but in our case, we're going to be focusing on low orbit satellites and also cable. The funding opportunities coming through the RDOF allocation, which allocated $169 million to Florida and about $1.5 million to Flagler County. And then staff is going to come back to provide some options in terms of projects that can be using these American Rescue Act funds. Talked about where we are and next steps. Any questions?
Can I ask one first? No, I don't have a question. I just wondered. So on the low orbit satellites, that's like the Starlink system, correct? Is the vision there that we would, if there's a financial need, support the installation of the satellite and the receiving box inside the house to be able to get the service?
That is correct. We're going to be looking at potential help with the initial investment for the resident as a potential option, if the funds can be used for that. And we'll come back to the board and let them know that this is an option for us to help those residents acquire that service, because my understanding is that it's between $300 and $400 the device to be able to receive the signal.
Yeah, and then you have issues of training and not trying to understand how to use it. It's not, I mean, if you can't program a remote, the old saying, you know, it's not going to be so easy to be able to use those boxes. But it is for sure a solution in the real rural areas, absolutely. Are there any Starlink satellites covering Flagler County yet?
I believe there's satellites, over 1,000 satellites they've pushed out to space, and I'm not sure if they're in Florida yet. I know they've been successful in the beta testing up in the northwest and the north part of the country.
So, yeah, we do. So, Commissioner Dance?
Appreciate the comprehensive analysis. One of the maps you showed that Comcast had already existing coverage, or a coverage area was Daytona North. So if that's already part of their coverage area, what are their plans to adequately, I mean, is that part of another grant that they expanded into that area? And do they have mandates to cover or provide, connections in that area?
Their plan is to, once they extend to the green segment that I shared, they plan to continue to extend. Even if SpaceX has blocks that they have been allocated, they plan to look at opportunities in that area. One of the things that was discovered through this process from Comcast, from Charter and one of the residents that is part of the broadband community group, is that the addressing that exists from the postal office that they have for their homes places them in a different location where the actual addressing that GIS through Darlene's group have provided. So once they did that, started that conversation, they realized that some of these places along, I think it's County Road 304 or 305, there was service available if they use the proper address. So, the short answer is yes, they're going to continue to look for opportunities. There is an investment for them, and if we can partner with them in helping move that forward, that'll be well received from Charter.
I guess what I'm curious is how we eventually look at what's readily available versus what could be covered after it could take more than 6 years if they build out the green area, maybe even before they look at going north into that yellow. So that may be one of those gap areas that we can help expedite.
Correct. Through one of those I think it was Senate Bill 1560, that enables this mapping at the state level to track where things have been deployed and where the gaps are. We can take advantage of that and also upload that information to our GIS system to help move that forward.
Okay.
Anything else, Commissioner?
That's it.
Okay, Commissioner Sullivan?
Yeah, I just to put it in very layman's gross terms, we normally look at this from a perspective of areas that are not covered. But in Flagler County, if we looked at it as to population, do you have any idea percentage-wise of the percent of our population, not so much the areas, that do have access to service now, and then how many additional percent of the people don't have access? Have you looked at it from that perspective?
I don't have the data because we haven't completed the analysis of the gap analysis that we looked into. But from a county perspective, a large majority of the county residents do have access to broadband.
Right. So I'm trying to get at how critical the problem is, and it sounds like there are some resources being applied to it. So I think it's great what you're doing. It's very enlightening to me to see the briefing, because I'm not up to speed on that, but I like gross terms too. So I think we ought to look at population being served by population and also the areas. So if you just want to add an area where nobody lives, I'm not sure how cost-effective that is.
Yeah, these are critical services for a lot of folks that don't have broadband. And if you look at that green segment, or the green blocks that we just shared, there's a lot of folks in there. And Comcast has been awarded to provide services to up to 385 locations. And if you look at that map, the GIS map that Darlene put together for us, the majority of those folks in the south and southwest part of the county could provide, Charter could provide the services that they need in terms of broadband in this area.
Commissioner Mullins?
Yeah, I want to let my fellow commissioners, I want to let y'all know that I really appreciate you guys approving and supporting bringing staff on to this group. Having our chief of staff has been like putting glue to all the important pieces, bringing them together, and he's done a phenomenal job. We're close to getting this done. I mean, all of Flagler County is going to have broadband. To walk into meetings with, I don't want to say, walk into meetings with Spectrum or Charter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got several different names. Walking into meetings with him and Jared is like walking in with your scientists coming in. They understand the dialogue. They know they can talk the same language, and that's been a challenge that we've had in the group. And I don't want to take anything away from the task force. We've got in the audience Katie, who's done a phenomenal job connecting the public out there, getting people rallied, talking to them, keeping them calm, letting them know that we're working on it and taking it serious. And I I can't speak for her, but I know that we both felt a sense of what was missing in that group, having you and Jared come in and bring the gasoline to the fire. So it was great to have that, and we're excited, and we're here to do whatever we need to do to get this done.
If there's a way in future discussions, if you could help quantify for us exactly what kind of numbers we're talking about here, that would be helpful. You know, there's a lot of conversation at the legislature, obviously, this session on a lot of these bills, and one of the lights that went on for me was the difference between underserved and unserved, and there's sometimes a lack of understanding of the two. And this kind of gets to, I think, Commissioner Dance's point of, you know, wherever we can expand on, run a line further down the lateral because it just wasn't run, but it's already there, that's a different conversation than, and then whether it's affordable or not is a different conversation. So I'm just curious, maybe at some point, if with your GIS folks, if we can quantify X amount of how many actual households, you know, don't have service because there's none there, and then how many don't have service, but they could have it because they can't afford it, or they're unaware that it's even there. I think that would be helpful to really understand the scope of what our challenge is.
Yeah, just a comment, when driving around out in the West County, you occasionally see on a telephone post a big sign that says, "Do you want internet?" And it gives a number to call. And that astounds me because we've always heard they don't have internet out there, but there must be somebody out there providing it, you know.
Yeah, I'm not aware of those providers, but they're not part of the list that have been successful bidders to help provide this broadband services. Mr. Chairman, you do bring a very good point in terms of there's providing the services and there's affordability of it. And there is additional legislation coming down that would offset some of the costs for lower income folks that are part of the SNAP program and others. So that's starting to materialize as well. I also wanted to, Commissioner Mullen reminded me, wanted to acknowledge Katie. She's been part of this group for a long time, and she is going to be a great asset for us to work with. So just wanted to say thank you for her service in this team.
You can do that during the public comment, which is coming up next here, so thank you. Did you have something else, Commissioner? Okay, I just forgot to take you off my blinking list. Okay, if nothing else, thank you, Jorge. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us through presentations. We'll now move on to the community outreach portion of our agenda. And as a reminder, this is a 30-minute time frame, which is allocated for public comment on any consent agenda item or topic not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the chair. So our community outreach section is now open. Yeah. Welcome.
Good morning. How are you? I'm Katie Biancanello, citizen of Western Flagler County. So we just wanted to talk about quantify the numbers that you were asking for. So according to our maps, it's about 400 homes that are not served. So when you see those signs in Western Flagler County, it is for satellite service, which satellite service does not fall within the FCC broadband speeds. So that's why you're seeing that. What's available. That is available to everyone in Flagler County, but it doesn't meet the needs of broadband.
That's the high orbit side.
Correct,
And
yes.
that gives a homeowner what? If they call that number and they pay some amount of money?
So they can get a broad service, a satellite service, and it does allow for them. The problem with the satellites is they do not have high enough speeds to conduct, normal things that they would have to do, meetings, school, all of those things. And also they're capped. And in addition to that, they're very expensive. So you have people out there that are paying well over $150, $200 for a service that doesn't meet their needs. So you're welcome. I just want to answer to those things.
Good, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, like they're resellers for Hughes Net.
Yeah, and it doesn't get them much,
Well,
it sounds
gets
like.
It gets them some.
Something,
All right,
yeah.
anyone else for community outreach? I think this is a world record. All right, seeing no one else approach the podium, we'll close community outreach. And we'll move on to our consent. Well, before we move to our consent agenda, will you have any commissioners wish to comment on any items on the consent agenda without, that you were not necessarily going to pull? So you raised your hand first, Commissioner Sullivan.
Right. I noticed, well, maybe he's gone now. I noticed that Dr. Jackson was here from Bunnell, and there is an item on there in the consent agenda that I didn't know if he was, if he's not going to be here, I thought if we may hear from him on that particular item. But if he's not here, I just leave it as a consent agenda, so that's 7C. And then 7K and 7L I'd like to get a little more information out publicly on what I think is a great addition coming to the county. The 7K and 7L, and if Dr. Jackson's not here, then I don't want to pull 7C.
Okay, anyone else with just comments?
Right.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the actual consent agenda. So we'll start with you, Commissioner Dance. Any items to pull from the agenda?
I guess Mr. Sullivan had indicated 7K and L, so I'll jump on that to pull that.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I have none to pull. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have none.
anything else, Commissioner Sullivan?
I see Dr. Jackson's back. So I did pull that. Dr. Jackson, if you maybe could just give a quick explanation of what a good thing 7C is going to be.
Great morning, Chairman, Board of County Commissioners. Happy to be here. Today, this month is the Historic Preservation Month, which I applaud. I'm kind of dating myself, but in 1986, 87, I joined the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation, and the project we worked on was how do we bring back South Beach from being a slum and blighted area. And so this morning, I'm here to request a letter of support for our 1936-37 WP Coquina City Hall restoration. There are many needs that we have in that building to basically maintain its historic significance here in the city of Bunnell, which is the what I call the center of Flagler County. Basically, it has for many years served as the social, economic, political, as well as municipal activities for this community. And so it's that time that we need to come together and go to Tallahassee and say to our Preservation Council that Flagler County here in Bunnell needs its support for this project.
Any other questions, Commissioners, for Dr. Jackson? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To bring it back to the board for a motion to approve item 7C, letter of support request for City of
Second.
Bunnell for the special categories.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We also need to open up for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve item 7C, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Appreciate it. Okay, next item that we had pulled was item 7K, which is consideration of a bid award 21-001B for construction of Grand Swamp Trail and pedestrian bridge over State Road 100. And that award is to Massey, I guess that's the way you pronounce it, general contractors in the amount of $9,478,640.63. And I don't know, Commissioner Dance or Commissioner
Sure.
Sullivan?
Well, this was first approved by the commission back in 2018 for design. So it's an ongoing project. The design was presented, the final design, to the commission in October 2019. Talk about that a little bit, about how we're strung to just a small section of available projects for this fund. Bridge clearance was a question, and maintenance was a question. And then I think talking about future connections is important on where we go with the next step in this trail system. So those were the items I thought we could hit on for clarifications.
Ask away.
I think I just did.
I didn't hear any specific questions.
Well, talk about if, Ms. Faith, if you could talk about the funding mechanisms and what they're allocated for, what we can't use them for, what's the clearance of the bridge, how will we fund maintenance, and then talk a little bit about what we can do in the future to help enhance this infrastructure.
Okay. Good morning, Faith Al-Khatib, County Engineer. Let's talk first about the funding source. Every year we look into bringing more funding to Flagler County. Some of it, transportation funds, state and federal funds, and some of it, they call it alternative transportation funds. This project meets the criteria for the alternative transportation funds, which is federal funds. We apply every year. We have our priority list, and this project was one of our priority on the top of the list. This funds only we can use it for sidewalks, trails, parks, trailheads, just anything is not related to roadways or bridges. We can use this kind of funding every year. So we were lucky and fortunate to receive approximately $11.5 million to do this project. As Commissioner Andy mentioned, in 2018, we received approximately $1.5 million for design phase, and also we had almost $8.5 million for construction phase. That was all allocated for this project. We advertised for this bridge, and the bids came in $1,029,000 above the grant amount. We worked with FDOT, and we received the additional funding. We have only two alternatives: either to do the project, to get additional funding from FDOT, not to do it at all, or maybe break it to phases. And as you know, with the construction cost at this time, the prices are going up. So again, we worked with the FDT, and that's what the supplemental agreement is for, $1,029,000 to add to this project, so we can award it to the lower bidder, which is Massey. Our goal to start construction soon, maybe by August, as soon as we can. That's our goal. Now to talk more about the bridge clearance. Commissioner Andy asked these questions. This is a pedestrian bridge crossing a state road highway, but also on any local roadway, we have to meet federal requirements and also state requirements, and the clearance for any bridge, it's supposed to be at least 16.5 foot. For this bridge, looking at the plans, after you posed this question to me this weekend, it's at least 18 feet and 5 inches or 3 inches, something like that. We do meet the minimum clearance height requirement for this project. Maintenance. All of us, we know, we get the grants, but there is no maintenance funding coming in from state or federal funds. It always has to be local funds. I do understand it's really critical issue for us as a community here in Flagler County. If we don't get these grants funding and build these projects and pay to maintain them, we will never do anything in Flagler County. As you know, our gas taxes is really very, very small. We collect every year $1 million, $1.5 million, but to maintain these roadways, you have road and bridge operation, it will cost more than $2 million. So with that said, we cannot do capital improvement project with any local funding here in Flagler County. We have to apply for the grants. But the maintenance, it's our liability and responsibility. I discussed this issue with Commissioner Andy, and I told him, maybe for Lehigh Trail, no way FDT, they will agree to maintain that. This is a trail, FDT, they are not in the business to maintain trails, multi-use trails, but at this time, I might, in the future, we might be successful, we might not to, ask FDT to maintain the pedestrian bridge. So we'll try to do that, but at this time, it is Flagler County responsibility to maintain the bridge. We can add it to FDT list to inspect this bridge for us every 2 years and provide us with a report. And this report, whatever we need to do, we'll go ahead and do it here with the Flagler County local funds. That's for that bridge. When we designed this project and coordinating with our design team, our goal to design this project to minimize the maintenance cost for this bridge. So we did our best. But with all that said, everything new, not much maintenance we have to do. Slowly, we have to allocate certain funds and do these things within local funds. Future connections. Future connection, let me talk a little bit about this project. What's the intent of this project? To create opportunities to enjoy the natural beauty of Flagler County. Second, to link Lehigh Trail with State Road 100 crossing and allowing connection to future Bulow Trail. And that's what's our future plan. In the south of this bridge, we do own a lot of land. Flagler County own a lot of land, a lot of lands, property there. I think in the future, we're supposed to come up with a master plan, how to develop that land and create a trailhead, create a park there. Should be a planning phase to decide what we want to do in that property. After that, we can either have local funding to go do these improvements, or as we do, usually go and apply for a grant. So that's what's our future plan for this, to connect it to Bulow Trail in the future south of this bridge. So did I answer all your questions, Commissioner?
Yeah, I think on the future connections, I wanted to emphasize with the fellow commissioners how ecotourism and trails is a growing area. We have an expansive trail system as it is, and this is tying into that. The Bulow Creek State Park to the south is one of, in Visit Florida's webpage on the best trails in Florida, the Bulow Creek State Park Trail, which starts at the ruins and then goes south through Bulow Creek State Park. This is, I think, a really critical connection that we take this trail, the bridge, and then connect it south to the Bulow ruins. It would make an entirely, I don't know how many miles, but an incredibly long trail system through Flagler County and connecting to Bulow Creek in the loop and where the Fairchild Oak is located. So it's an opportunity for us to really put a stamp on our trail system. I think it would lead to increased tourism and just as a great opportunity. It's very expensive. I mean, I know when I first looked at this as just a citizen, was wondering about the costs and the fact that, it seemed like there wasn't a plan for the South, but having talked to you more about it, I just want to emphasize that we put that as a priority in our, whether it's ESL funding or others, to make improvements and enhance this trail system through Flagler. I think it would be a huge boon to us.
I agree with you, Commissioner, and as I mentioned before, we don't have grant funding for a planning phase, but if you have any local funding available to do the planning phase and add it to our list to get some grant funding from federal funds to do it, I think you should, yes, it is in our things to do, and we will keep it in our mind and consider it.
Right. Thank you.
And also, I would like to mention.
I think Commissioner Sullivan has.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I always want to pull the items first. But in any event, what I think you should do in this briefing is right now is put a picture of the bridge up there. Because a lot of people, it's a couple of years since we actually were briefed on this before. And at that time, it was talked about that it would eventually connect down to Bulow. So that was briefed back in 2018. when I was here. But if you could just get the picture up there, I think it's important for people who haven't seen this to get an idea of how it's going to tie into the pier A-frame. And as Commissioner Dan said, it's going to be a real good asset to the county. And so I pulled both 7K and 7L because 7L is additional funding that we weren't briefed on way back in 2018. That funding also is coming from FDOT.
Yes.
And that's going to connect the Lehigh Trail that exists now down to this new bridge.
Yes, sir.
It's in the briefing, I don't know, do you have them? I just
can-
wanted to get the.
Amy, if you are listening, please send the presentation to Jared, so he can have the picture up there. We
okay.
do have,
Yeah.
okay, and we have one slide just specifically for that. I sent it to you this weekend.
Everybody get?
We should.
I just wanted to get on record here today.
Yes,
so
it's going to
people
be an
understand what it
A-frame
looks like.
structure, yes.
I just think my reason to talk about this is it's, as Mr. Dance pointed out, this is going to be a tremendous asset, and of the landmarks in the county, this will become one of the 2 or 3 biggest landmarks that we have, in addition to the pier, and maybe the Blue Tower, the Blue Water Tower, things like that. This is going to become a real point that people will remember Flagler County for. Okay, that's it.
All right, any other questions, Commissioners? All right, if not, I'll open this item up to public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this item?
James Fisk, Flagler County Historical Society. Just have a question about the entire project. Every time I turn around, I'm looking at new developments going in on South Old Kings Highway. I haven't seen a map yet of where this trail is going to be going in. Right now, I don't see any area where a trail could go through there because, like I said, every time I turn around, there's a new development that's being approved. So I don't know where this trail is going to be south of Highway 100. Is there, I love the idea. Don't get me wrong. I totally love the idea because there's a lot of history there. But, right now, the general public has no clue where this trail is going to be, how it's going to be maintained, and then there's this bridge, close to, $10 million? Wow.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fisk. Any other comments from the public or questions? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. I think on that item, Mr. Fisk, I would ask, maybe you can get with staff after the meeting, because there is an explanation of the land that runs south from there, and at this point, our discussion on this item is pretty much complete. So if we don't have any other questions here, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the, did we get a motion here?
We didn't get a motion.
Okay, can I get a motion? I apologize.
Motion to approve item 7K, consideration of bid award for construction of Graham Swamp Trail and pedestrian bridge over State Road
Second.
100.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. There are none opposed. That motion carries unanimously. We also pulled item 7L,
L, which we've already discussed.
which we've had some discussion on, but we got to officially go through the process here. And that is consideration of approval of a local agency program supplemental agreement between Florida Department of Transportation and Flagler County for the construction of Graham Swamp Multi-Use Trail and Pedestrian Bridge from Lehigh Trail to State Road 100, providing for additional funding of $1,029,411 to be added to the project. So you want to just give a brief description of that, please, Ms. Al-Khatib? Specifically what these funds are for?
Yes, Faith Al-Khatib, County Engineer. As I mentioned, We do have an agreement with FDOT and asked to build this pedestrian bridge, and the existing amount of funding at that time was $9,137,000 and $974. When we advertised for this project, the bids came in $1,029,000 shortfall for the grant amount. We discussed this issue with FDOT, and we asked for that additional funding, and they granted for us. And this is a supplemental agreement just to give us the additional funding so we can award this project and move on to the construction phase.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Right, that's basically, we discussed it already.
Any other questions? All right, I'll open this one up to public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this particular item? Seeing no one come forward, I'll close public comment, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve item 7L, consideration approval, local agency program supplemental agreement number 1 between Florida Department of Transportation and Flagler County to construction Graham Swamp multi-use trail and pedestrian bridge, additional funding.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, that motion carries unanimously. All right, we will move on to general business, and we have 3 items. First up is item 8A, which is consideration of First Amendment to an agreement for the Marine Land Acres Drainage and Roadway Improvement Project between Flagler County and Besh and Smith Civil Group, Inc., for the relocation of existing potable water facilities and new asphalt paving of Bay Drive in the amount of $1,885,302. And you going to take the lead on that again, Ms. Al-Khatib?
Good morning, Faith Al-Khatib, County Engineer. What we have here is a change order to relocate the existing City of Palm Coast water lines and to pave Bay Drive Road. November 2020, the board approved the construction contract for the Marine Land Acres Drainage and Roadway Improvements Project. As you know, and as we discussed before, there is ongoing discussion talking about this issue with the City of Palm Coast. As a result of this roads improvements causing the relocation of these existing water lines. We discussed the issue with the City of Palm Coast. We had a workshop here to talk about the same issue, and design has been completed. Flagler County paid for that cost, which approximately $131,000. And what we have here is a change order related to the construction activities. The total cost for this is $1.6 million. Actually, it's $1,640,654 to relocate the City of Palm Coast water lines. Coordinating with the city, with the staff, we ended up, Flagler County will pay $775,277 for the construction. This is going to be local funding. City of Palm Coast, they agreed on paying $865,377. With all that said, we need your approval to start moving on to the construction phase. We are working with the City of Palm Coast to finalize an interlocal agreement. Whenever it's finalized and agreed on, we'll be bringing it here for your approval, and we're anticipating that to be happening soon. Also, it has been requested to pave Bay Drive Road, and the cost for that is going to be $244,648, and it's going to be gas tax local funding to do that activity. I'm here to answer any of your questions.
I think Commissioner Mullins?
Yeah, Commissioner Hanson, this actually for you, I wanted to ask you, you've followed this project very closely, and this has been something you've been very passionate and on top of. Is this moving in along the lines of what?
Yeah, it does. I was a little disappointed that Palm Coast didn't step up and pay for this, because by state law they should. But Faith has worked out a deal, and Jerry has participated, and Al has participated. We got a deal now to get it done. Yeah, and the paving of Bay Drive, we're getting a lot of complaints from Sea Colony about the dust and stuff. And so we'll solve that problem, by paving that road. Then it'll just bring up the next problem, and that's speed on that road. But Faith and Jerry and Al have been on top of this, and this is kind of like the last little thing, and we got it done. Everything's done.
Great job on it.
Mr. Cameron?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just would like to add one thing to this request that occurred to me just recently, because we have not officially, although we've verbally gotten the agreement with the city of Palm Coast, we don't have the written document. I would just, in case there's language difficulties or whatever that would delay this, I would request that you authorize our finance department to advance that money to be repaid by Palm Coast in the event there was any delay in it.
I'm on.
Yes, I know. I was just going to recognize you, Commissioner Sullivan. You're recognized.
This is one that I'm always edgy on with the city of Palm Coast, which we love the city of Palm Coast. But the last time it was briefed here, the city manager of Palm Coast, I asked directly, are you going to provide funds for this project? And he said no. Now, since that, our county administrator has done great work to get a verbal agreement, apparently for $800 and some thousand, is that correct?
Yes,
Coming from the city.
yes.
Has that gone before the city council?
Okay. When we have the workshop, the chair directed me to go back and get more money from FDT, and that's what we did. We went back to FDT and we received $775,000 grant funding from FDT. But that funds cannot be used towards utility relocation, wherever there is, it's a statute requirement. So we freed some of local funding from the construction phase towards construction, and we use this amount, which is from the assessment towards construction of the utility. And yes, there has been coordination between myself, my staff, and the City of Palm Coast staff. We have emails. We shared with them the cost estimate for this project, how much it will cost, and they agreed on everything. And we received a draft agreement between us and them. Our attorney recently finalized it. We sent it to the City of Palm Coast sometime last week, so they are aware of it. And as far as my concern, yes, they are committed for the 800, I have to get my glasses on, the 865,377. We do have emails, we have coordination, it is whatever it is. We have no choice but to proceed with this project. My change order cost is good until tomorrow.
No, I'm not saying don't approve this today. I'm just want to make it clear that I like it when we actually get the money in hand.
Well, we actually have an advantage in this, and that is the state law.
Right.
We are actually doing things to assist Palm Coast with this. I have no reason to believe that they won't follow through on what they've committed to. And I just would hate to see this project delayed for any reason due to some procedural thing, because we've been waiting a long time, and now we've actually begun activities in that area. We definitely don't want this delayed, so for that reason, I ask that it be amended to allow our finance department to advance those funds.
I agree with all that.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Yeah, if we vote, make a motion and approve this, we're approving, are we not, the expenditure of that money? Or do we need to word it differently?
You are approving it. It just needs to be clear, because we have thrown in that Palm Coast is paying 800 and something $1,000. We just need to make it clear to the finance department. I don't think you need to change the language, but the minutes would reflect that you anticipated that we'd advance the money if necessary.
All right, if that's good, I would agree with that. I mean, that, we don't want to stop this project. So,
Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll open this item up to the public. Anyone from the public wish to comment on item 8A? Seeing no one come forward, I will close public comment. Bring it back for either further discussion and/or a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve item 8A, which is a First Amendment to the Agreement of the Marine Land Acres Drainage and Roadway Improvement Project, with the understanding that Palm Coast is going to furnish $800,000 plus money, and that it's understood that our county manager can proceed with this project regardless. He can proceed with this project.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, that motion carries unanimously. Next item is item 8B, and this is an approval of expenditure of $874,000 plus 10% contingency for the probable cost of water main extension along Old A1A. And I'm assuming you're going to discuss this, Mr. Cameron?
Yes, sir. As the board is well aware that Willow Woods experienced some dire shortages of potable water, to the extent that a number of homes out there had to resort to buying very expensive RO plants in order to have water. Commissioner Hanson took this project on to try to see if we could in any way get them potable water out there. And as a result of that, we determined that the only way that we could do it was by an assessment. The assessment was of such amount that the people that had already invested in those RO plants resisted paying any additional monies out, and consequently that split up the neighborhood, and it created some real animosities. Now the situation has continued to deteriorate. Some people are moving out. There's a lot of property for sale. And the Rescue Act came along that specifically said that we would be able to use that for utility expansion. I've talked with Jonathan Lord. There is no doubt that we will be able to use those monies for that purpose. Typical of what has happened in the COVID reimbursement fundings and grant fundings is that the federal government has yet to give us the money with the distinct guidelines, although that we do know it will be used for the purpose of utility expansion. We have a number of projects that would be beneficial for, but this is by far the most critical. I would like to get it approved contingent upon us having the money in hand or having the guarantee, the obligation in hand to give those people in this area some relief, because the circumstances are pretty dire.
Commissioner Hanson?
You know, just to further talk about the problem out there, they don't have fire water either. I mean, they don't have any water. And we have residents in Flagler County that live there that turn on their tap and they get air. And we have others that turn on their tap and all they get is salt water. So this is really critical, Jerry, and thank you very much for identifying the funding for this.
Well,
I mean, it just doesn't seem right that we have residents in the county that don't have water.
I would further like to, if we pursue this at this time, if the funding will permit it, to put dry lines for sewage in anticipation of removing septic tanks on the barrier island.
Yeah, and that only makes sense.
Not in this particular area. You're talking about a more comprehensive plan in the Barry Island area.
Yeah, yes, but it would be much more expensive to go back and lay those lines in. While you've got the ditch open, you only need to make it a little
put the pipe
wider
in.
so you can lay in the dry pipe for future connection.
That's some of the stuff you're going to bring back with the suggested ways to utilize some of this American Rescue Plan money, correct?
Yes, sir. I wanted to give you a comprehensive plan, but until I get the final directions from the federal government, I can't do that. And this one is just so critical. I wanted to approve, so if it came in tomorrow after this meeting, that we could proceed and be guaranteed the federal monies, that I could proceed to get this done.
So one clarifying question that I have is, these specific funds will pay for running the water line from A1A down throughout that whole area, correct? But not the actual connections to the homes, just the water line. In the guise of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. So the individual homeowners, if they've already invested in the system and they have a well they think is performing properly, they don't have to connect to this line, but it'll be there, and also for fire services.
That's correct. We put in the proper amount of fire hydrants in there.
Yes, sir.
When we had the community vote on whether or not, to actually do a taxing area, it was 21 to 20, the vote.
So it's about 40 homes total.
40 homes.
40, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion, commissioners? All right, I'll open this one up to public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this particular item? Seeing no one come forward, I'll close public comment. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item 8B, which is approval of expenditure of $874,000 plus 10% contingency for the probable cost of water main extension along Old A1A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Item 8C is a discussion of possible rescission of or a mandatory mask requirement in Flagler County buildings. And Mr. Lord, welcome.
Morning, Commissioners. I won't take too much of your time up. However, we actually don't need you all to directly take action because you all actually never took action to have a mask requirement. This is more of getting a blessing from you all to proceed. So back in March, we originally locked down the building, went to appointments only, then we implemented the temperature screenings and face mask wearing rules and social distancing rules, and we even didn't have in-person commission meetings for a little while. As time progressed, we learned more about the COVID-19 virus and the disease. We started relaxing some of those. We started having their in-person commission meetings again. And on top of that, as December came, vaccines became available. They weren't readily available for quite a few months. However, they are, I can tell you, as of this morning, as of actually this weekend, there is based on the number of people who want the vaccine and the number of vaccines available, there is an overabundance of all 3 vaccines in Flagler County at this moment, primarily in the private sector and all of our pharmacies, whether they're in Walmart, CVS's and Target, all the CVS's, the Walgreens, Grace Community Pharmacy, some of the churches, Flagler Pharmacy, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of other places too, Publix, Winn-Dixie. There is plenty of vaccine available in our community for those who want it. COVID-19 is not over. The big lift now is for our public health department to make this a massive public health campaign to encourage those that have been hesitant with the vaccine to get the vaccine. But nonetheless, the vaccine is readily available. 100% of your employees and the constitutional officers' employees and the school board employees that work in your facilities have been offered multiple times the opportunity to get the vaccine. I can guarantee that they've all been offered multiple opportunities from either going to the public sites, from coming to the Emergency Operations Center, to coming to our clinics, been offering vaccines as well now, which most of the constitutional officers and your staff all belong to. As of this morning, 54% of Flagler County residents over the age of 16 have been vaccinated, have received at least one dose. As you all know, one of the vaccines only requires one dose. Two of the vaccines require 2 doses. So that's kind of, I think we are in a very good spot. A couple months ago, Jerry and I had multiple conversations about when do we get to the point where we can start easing up on some things as it relates to our facilities. As you know, about a month ago, we dropped the temperature screening because the validity of that kind of decreased based on the kind of cases that the public sees in general. So we're coming to you now to say our game plan with your blessing is to change from masks required to masks encouraged or recommended when within our facilities. Using that kind of language would be in sync with what the state surgeon general said on Thursday evening. Officially, he released it on Friday, and I'll quote his exact language from his public health advisory. There's a lot of stuff in that advisory, but I'm grabbing one particular paragraph. Whereas due to widespread vaccine availability, which very much fits our community, fully vaccinated individuals should no longer be advised to wear face coverings or avoid social and recreational gatherings except in limited circumstances. And those limited circumstances talk to the CDC. There's still recommendations of avoiding indoor large public gatherings and stuff like that. So that's kind of where that exception is. So because of the fact that over half of our eligible population has reached that mark, it is why we'd like to just get your blessing to move forward with changing that language. The signs you see now on our buildings, they would kind of look the same, but the language would soften, become recommended versus required for entry. Same thing if you have these kinds of symptoms, we recommend you seek services in an alternative manner. If when you're inside the facility, we recommend that you do wear a mask when around others, that kind of stuff versus required. So that's part one. Part two, I also want to mention, back in March, April, you passed Resolution 2020-48, which urged the use of face coverings countywide. Our municipalities had similar ones, actually making requirements for that. The language in that resolution did not did not mandate it, but it also did not talk about the world we are in today with vaccines and things like that. So my recommendation and suggestion to you all would be also to consider potentially repealing or rescinding, whatever the correct legal term is, Alec, maybe it's rescinding, that particular resolution because it no longer applies to today's world. Another tidbit into why I also say that is this morning while we were all sitting in here, the governor also publicly announced that he is going to invalidate all local restrictions anyway within the next month or so. He's hinted he's going to do that through an emergency order using his executive power. Anyway, but regardless of him doing that, that language that we had in that initial resolution does not necessarily fit today's world. So that's kind of part two of my spiel to you all.
Okay, thank you. I think we have some questions or comments, and Commissioner Mullins, and then Mr. Cameron, and then.
Mr. Lord, I got to, again, tell you how impressed I am with you. I just got that pop-up on notice saying the governor rescinded all local COVID-19 orders, which I think our governor's done a phenomenal job with this pandemic. It's a very tough and challenging situation, but he's done a great job. I want to thank that you have done and your staff have done. You're amazing. That's just the best way I can put it. The health department's done a great job. I know it's not an easy task to go out there and push things like this because you're right on the borderline of people's freedoms and their rights, but I think we've gotten through some of the worst of it. You say we've had 55% vaccinated. Does that include the percentage? What is the percentage when you include people that have had COVID?
That I don't have that data. The health department doesn't release that data. But yeah, there's people who have had COVID that still have inherent immunity. Again, they should still eventually get vaccinated based on their doctor's recommendations. But yeah, the big point I want to make is, COVID's not over, but we're at a different place than we were back when you did that resolution than we were even a month ago. The health department has done an amazing job with their campaign. We've been supporting them. We are, over the next month or so, we are going to retract ourselves from assisting them with those services because we've able to get them to the point where they can take on the managing of the public vaccines, not the ones done through the private sector, without the county having to provide that level of support anymore. And it's very much, actually I was talking to my staff last week, and I think even to Bob Snyder last week. This is very much like, and I think I might have said this in a previous comment to you all, We've gotten to the point, this is like a few weeks after that smaller hurricane. We're kind of in that recovery mode where the emergency side of government can kind of step back and just let the public health side, and I know Gretchen's here from the health department because Bob's out, just kind of run with it. We can support them. We can support them with their messaging. We can continue to say, hey, folks, COVID is not over, but this is what you need to do, and we can help get that message out. Get your vaccine. Here's the umpteen places to get it, but I think we've gotten to a great spot, but I do want to definitely say, it's not over. It's just what we do now is different.
Throw these things in real quick. We have seen lately full 5,500 attended concerts in Jacksonville. I was at one. Bike Week, Jeep Week. Events are returning. Full stadiums are going back to full capacity all over the Southeast within the next 30 days. The importance of doing this is ending the fear in the workplace. A lot of people are using, and they may be very true with it. They're scared to go back to work because of the fear of COVID. This has caused a tremendous shortage of labor throughout our economy. We're seeing it in the travel and hospitality businesses. They can't get staff. I went to a restaurant just the other day where they had two servers and they had half the tables full and they said they just couldn't seat anymore. So I think getting the government taking this step is sending the message out there that it's becoming safe, the environment's going better. Our county's had some of the lowest cases. We need to reward our county for the compliance that they have done. And I'm just real proud of Flagler County and what all has occurred. And then just mainly sending that powerful message to the community that it's time to have events again, it's time to start doing things again. I personally have had the vaccine. I personally have shown antibodies of COVID and didn't even know I had it. Before I got the vaccine, I gave blood. That was my choice. I'm very open to it, and I encourage anyone to get the vaccine. But if you don't comfortable with them, there's nobody forcing you. Mask, I wear a mask when I'm asked by businesses. I don't fight it. I don't argue it. I don't go in and do anything against them. If I don't want to do business there because of a mask, it's my free choice to go. And I encourage businesses to still do what they feel they need to do for safety. But I think we're moving along in the right direction.
Commissioner Hanson?
Yeah, I'll just follow up on that. I just think it's time, I think it's the right time to do this. And I really respect everybody in the United States has the will and the brain power to decide whether they want to wear a mask or not, or whether they want to stay home or not, or whether they want to go to a football game or not. We're, in this country, I just think that's really important. And there's been, as Joe mentioned, there's been a lot of fear created about this stuff, and it shouldn't be. When you have 99% plus recovery rate on this, it shouldn't be something to be afraid of, but it should be something to be careful with. And I really think that it's time to let people make their own decision. If they want to wear a mask, by all means, wear a mask. But we should at least give them that opportunity to make that decision, that personal decision, whether to stay home or whether to go to places or whether to wear a mask or not wear a mask. I think it's really important in this country that we do that. And I think we're in the right spot in the state of Florida. We're doing the right thing. So I commend you on this, and I really think we need to do this. Let people make their own mind up if they want to wear a mask or not. Thank you.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yeah, just one aspect. I kind of agree with the comments that we've been making here. One good thing that might result from lessening and doing away with the mandatory mask requirements and all that is to give people who have had the vaccine some feeling that I did the right thing and I got the vaccine, and therefore now I don't need to wear a mask because I'm 94% immune from getting the COVID-19. But I think the other side of that is it may encourage people who haven't gotten the vaccine to get it because there was a benefit in the people who got the vaccine and getting themselves in that situation. So I think there could be a number of good things that can result from starting to move forward and opening us up again, the economy and that kind of thing. The economy is very important too in this country, and if we keep trying to hide, we'll go into debt so far that we'll never recover. So I hope this helps along those lines.
Commissioner Dance?
Thank you. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you and your staff and the cooperation with the health department. Gretchen's here. I mean, I took the opportunity last week to go out to the vaccination site at the fairgrounds, and the operation is just incredible. And that day, it was all people getting their second shots, and it was just constant and steady. The professionalism of the staff, their great attitude. It was nice to see how that had contributed to our low numbers and also our high vaccination rates. The message has been good from the county and as reflected in those numbers. And as long as we keep a positive and continue that message out there, I just think it's, we'll still be in a great place here in the county. So thank you.
No, thank you. And it has been and continues to be an amazing state and local partnership. So our municipalities have been part of it, along with your county government and the state. Sometimes the state and the county governments don't always see eye to eye and get along. That's life in governance in the United States. But it's been an amazing partnership since this whole COVID thing started last March, February, March, just with all the partners together.
So, Mr. Chairman, so what are we going to do as far as scheduling this? Are we going to support? I'm trying to think, what do you want our?
I think if we get that resolution number, we could rescind that resolution.
Yeah, that was going to be my question for Mr. Hadid, but Mr. Cameron wants to weigh in on something about it, I think, to your question.
The requiring a mask in our public buildings was an order that I gave based on the uncertainties of the time. I think from listening to the comments that effective immediately, I am going to change that order. And you do need to rescind that resolution. I don't know that I have it with me.
I think it's 20-48, but Al may have to validate that.
Y'all better hurry up, because we need to include it in the motion.
Let's just say we'll
It's on my desk.
repeal that resolution that was enacted that is under discussion today to be repealed. We'll identify it.
So the motion is to rescind the motion,
The existing
the
resolution.
existing resolution that was passed in what timeframe? March?
That was end of March, beginning of April. It's been so
Okay,
long.
well, all right, so we can't, it was last,
2048.
It is.
2048.
It is
Rescind.
resolution 2020-48.
I just wanted the official attorney to officially say that number.
so move that specific resolution be rescinded.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, but before we vote on that, let's open this item up to any public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this item? Welcome, Ms. Gretchen.
Hi, good morning, Chairman O'Brien and all our other commissioners. First off, I'd like to say.
You have to identify
Gretchen-
yourself.
Gretchen Smith, Health Department. First off, I would like to thank Commissioner Dance for joining us last week. It made the volunteers and the staff very happy to see him there, and they thought it was a really, it was wonderful to have him out, and they showed that, that people cared. I'd also like to thank Commissioner Belhumer for being with us last week let's see, you were at Tortugas. All these days are mixing together. For our operation there, where we're trying to reach out to local businesses to help them with their situation as far as, having employees out because they have COVID, et cetera. It is also reaching a younger demographic we're seeing. And so that for us, we're going to be at, let's see, we were at 3 restaurants last week, including Texas Roadhouse, to vaccinate employees. We will be at the Anchor this week. We'll be at Oceanside. In addition to, we have a partnership, we'll be at Advent Health doing vaccinations on Wednesday mornings now, and then we're gonna, oh wait, that's Thursday mornings. And then also with the City of Palm Coast, we'll be at the Palm Coast Community Center on Wednesday mornings for the next several weeks. So with respect to the mask requirement, the easing of masks, it's something that we saw as inevitable. But as Jonathan said, COVID is not over. Last week, we had 15 people in the hospital with COVID. We had been down as low as like 2 or 3 at one point. We have 11 this morning in the hospital with COVID. And our case rates, we're still seeing about between 13 and 15 cases a day. Our positivity rate, which we would love to see around 3%, which is where you get to that more of that herd immunity level, is right now at 6%. And it's fluctuated as much as 11% in the past week. So we're not out of the woods, but we still want to encourage people to get vaccinated. That's how we're going to be able to change things around here for the good. So we've got, I encourage you to, tell all your friends and family that we're going to be at 11 different places this week vaccinating people. And you can find all the information on Jonathan's website, on our website. And, hopefully we can continue moving in the right direction. But right now, we're not quite there. So if people feel nervous about not wearing masks, then it's time to get vaccinated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gretchen. Anyone else from the public wish to comment on our motion? Welcome, Commissioner.
Sitting too long. Jane Neely, Commissioner, City of Flagler Beach. I'd like to start out with also thanking the Health Department and Jonathan for all the assistance that they've been giving us with guidance. I'm sure Jonathan has seen this. It's the latest chart that came out from the CDC, and it's one of the clearest things I've ever seen. Maybe you can share it with the commissioners. Situations in which masks are not really needed at all, situations in which maybe you should, and situations where you definitely should wear a mask. So I think it might be something good for you to see. It just came out a couple of days ago from the CDC. As Gretchen so well put, this virus is not over. There are states where the numbers are spiking again and are starting to have to close down again. I would really hate to see that happen here. But most specifically, what I wanted to say was, I know I think all of you have been to county commissioner training, gotten certificates, and so you know that this is not a charter county. So you can make all the rules you want for the unincorporated part of this county, but you cannot tell Flagler Beach what to do. So when Commissioner Mullins over and over and over and over tells us we have to have July 4th, you can tell what it does to me. We cannot have July 4th. We cannot have 40 or 50,000 people on A1A in the middle of a pandemic, which is not over. You can have it out at the fairgrounds, you can have it at the airport, because you can spread people out. You've all been to July 4th in Flagler Beach. It is not spread out. We can't ask people if they've had a vaccine or not allowed to do that. What are you going to do, come over the bridge and say, we're only going to allow 1,000 people? Good luck with that. Just think about the difference in the situation. So I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, that you're being reasonable, that you listen to your staff, but don't tell us what to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other folks from the public wish to comment on this item? All right, seeing no one come forward, I'll close public comment. I think we have some more commissioner comments here or questions. Commissioner Sullivan?
Just one quick question. When you think about the positivity rate now, it fluctuates. I watch it every day. It fluctuates. But I would think that you'd have to add in this factor. there would be a tendency for people to get tested if they thought they might have COVID-19, as opposed to the entire population. So I think the positivity rate maybe shouldn't be a everyday statistic, but of all the people who have been tested, the overall positivity rate might be a more significant factor now. Is that going up or is that going down? That would be kind of where, I think there's a problem statistically, from my old college statistics, that positivity rate every day doesn't really pop out as a.
And you make a really good point. I've actually had this discussion a couple of times with Mr. Cameron. So the data that we get access to, and the health department has access to further data, the data that we're allowed to publicly see is a positivity function of all tests administered for a particular day. At the beginning of COVID-19, many more people with or without symptoms were being tested. So I think the value of the number of positive people compared to that denominator was a much more valuable figure. I think inherently human nature today, where we are in the pandemic, it's less likely that the average person will get tested just for the heck of it. It's actually extremely unlikely. It's usually because you were directly exposed or because you feel like you may have a symptom. So the odds of having COVID-19 in that scenario are probably higher because, again, that's a function of the data that we have access to. The health department has much more detailed data they can see on the back end that we're not privy to.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, any other questions or comments on this particular motion on the floor?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I want to be real clear. My comments and what I say is because I am a very big property owner in Flagler Beach, and I feel that my voice out there is very important. I also listen to many of the citizens throughout the county that feel like their voices have not been listened to. I've been standing strong against the silly comment that stay on your side of the bridge, which is very insulting to the 115,000 people that put tax money to there. I also feel very strongly that the government needs to lead. And I want to read something real quick, just a piece of something real quick. It's how government destroyed public confidence with the COVID pandemic. We knew it was coming. The question was when. The lessons in 1918 in our last and much worse pandemic were forgotten. One misstep after another led to the loss of lives, a ruined economy, and ultimately a total lack of confidence in government. That breakdown of trust, combined with social isolation, unreasonable mandates, and total disruption of American life, led to anarchy in major cities across the nation. Mental illness, alcohol and drug abuse, and suicides increasingly dramatically. Child abuse and domestic violence also showed substantial increase. Children lost a year or more of education and socialization in critical formative years. This is 1918, not 2021 and 2020. This is what happened then. Sounds familiar? In times of a crisis, people need leaders in which they can trust in order to avoid full-scale panic. The people were supposedly their source of reliable information, gave conflicting information, politicized the crisis, and manipulated the public. Dr. Fauci, director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease and chief of medical advisor to the president, intentionally misled the public by stating, right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks. But if you want to do it, that's fine. Fauci mentioned that masks do not offer perfect protection and may have united consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face. I'm going to skip down and say perhaps the greatest harm is to our economy. As of this writing, over 200,000 businesses have been permanently shut down. Hundreds of thousands more are on the brink of insolvency, including in our cities in Flagler County. The number of businesses killed by the virus may exceed the number of people killed if we remain on the present course. Yet the present administration and numerous governors continue pursuing devastation shutdowns. The proof that is fully can be found in wide-open states like Florida compared to draconian shutdowns in states like California and New York. The long-term damage to our economy will take decades of recovery. In course of less than 2 years, we have gotten from historical economic vibrance to the precise precipice of financial ruin. And I'm going to just put this into, I'm going to put this in for the rest of it where anyone can read it or put that on record. But my main concern, if our governor feels very strongly, and he's rescinding, if our states can have major events with over 80,000 people in a smaller radius than a beach inside a stadium, then we need to start leading like leaders, and we need to start building the confidence back. Thank you.
Call the question. All those in, we have a motion and a
Yes,
second,
we have a
correct?
motion. We made a
Okay,
motion.
thank you, gentlemen. All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously.
Thanks.
We don't
Thank
have
you,
any.
Commissioner. Thanks, Jonathan.
We don't have any public hearings scheduled. We'll move on to item 10A, which is additional reports and comments. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wanted to point out one thing on the action you just took, and that is our courthouse is not governed by me. It's county property, but it's governed by the chief judge, and he will be making decisions with how that courthouse is accessed. I personally believe that our citizens have acted on large part very responsibly, and that if they are not vaccinated, I think that taking necessary cautions would be prudent. Their compliance has allowed Flagler County to open quicker than most places. They have also kept our infectious rates very low, and for that, they should be commended. I'm sure you're aware by now that we did not receive the $500,000 grant for the library. There are some other grants on the horizon. In addition, our lobbyist in Washington is pursuing some grant funding there. I think that it would be prudent, since a large portion of the monies that are needed for design have been accumulated by the Director of Libraries for the purpose of building this southern branch. And I would recommend that we proceed with the design in anticipation that we will be proceeding one way or another with the building of a library, and the design phase will take when we go through the procurement process, and the actual design would take probably about a year, and we will have another shot at the $500,000 grant next year. We'll still, in all probability, be number one on the list. And if we haven't started actual construction, we're still eligible for that grant. So just a consensus that we could proceed with that would be helpful to me and the library director.
Anything else?
I'll take that as yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Faith Alcative has informed me that we have finally met the threshold for a traffic control signal coming into the government buildings here, the courthouse and this building. She is pursuing getting funding and getting that done as soon as possible. And she's generally pretty successful with those things, so I would anticipate that before too long, probably not soon enough for me to enjoy, but before too long, we'd have a traffic signal out there. Just wanted to let you know that that was happening. Lastly, on the subject of mosquitoes, I was approached by the Anastasia Mosquito Control, which is in St. Johns County, about a new program that they've got where they use radiation to sterilize male mosquitoes and then release them into the wild. And then when they breed with the female mosquitoes, the eggs are infertile. They have done some pilot programs on that, it's very successful. They have asked for a lot of support, which I gave them on that. But they're also offering at a very reasonable price once that comes online, putting those mosquitoes out in Flagler County. This is really a great way to address this because there's no chemicals, no other animals are affected. It has about an 85% effective rate, and the regulations from DEP and EPA are making it very difficult for them to do the kind of treatment that they've done in the past. So I look forward to having that happen in a couple of years when that program is out. In the meantime, we have been trying to do something to address the numerous calls that we get from Rama Ridge, Espanola, and the Mondex. And I asked for some cost on surveillance and treatment flat rates so that we could budget for it from the East Flagler Mosquito Control. I did not get a cost of spraying overall. They just wanted to proceed on a per event once they get bad enough. But they quoted $15,342.72 for surveillance, and they have to have surveillance in order to do routine treatment. Anastasia quoted $9,360, and then they quoted, if we want treatment twice a month, projected, it would depend on surveillance, but twice a month for the 10 months of the mosquito season, $22,782, and that would give a total for surveillance and treatment of $32,142. I just wondered if the board had any comment on proceeding with that. And in addition, we probably need to look at some of the assessments to see, I understand they haven't been changed in 20 years, if those assessments could be used to incorporate some of this expense.
Couldn't we accuse those mosquitoes of having COVID and use the $11.2 million that we're going to be getting here in a few days?
Well, if we could establish that they transmit COVID, that would be an easy call.
How long before you can sterilize them all?
It would, I was familiar with this program way back when I was working for the Wildlife Department in my 20s. And we used this method to eliminate screwworm flies. Very successful. They no longer have the problem there, and it took 3 or 4 years to just decimate the screwworm fly population by doing this.
Told my granddaughters it's quickly becoming a female's world, and it's coming to pass. Rightfully so. But I'm sorry, so Commissioners?
Yeah, just so I understand what we're showing here. Right now, the East Flagler group that we have only covers certain areas of the county. And so if Rima Ridge, Espanola, or Daytona North want treatments, that's an additional cost.
That's correct.
It's not included in the, what we get in our tax bill if we live in the eastern part of the county.
That's correct. There are some assessments in, I think, Rama Ridge and Espanola for mosquitoes specifically.
That goes to our east,
Yes.
okay, but these numbers here would be what? Over on the left-hand column of the,
The left-hand column would be for surveillance only.
and that would be in addition to any,
And then they would charge us, if the surveillance indicated that we needed treatments, that it would be on a per-treatment basis.
right. Now, if we agreed to have the Anastasia group from St. John's do it, they would do the surveillance for $9,360,
That's correct.
and then the cost of the spraying for 1 year, is that right?
1 year.
Would be that.
It's
Now,
the
would that be
mosquito
rec-
season is actually 10 months.
So that would be a recurring cost each year?
Yes.
So if we commit to this now, I'm just worried about the morale of our mosquito control people if we do this. I know that's a little corny, but I think it looks like a good thing to do, but are they going to go, well, why aren't we doing this? We're here
Well,
in
they
Flagler already."
probably will not be happy to have someone else come into the territory or the territory of Flagler County, but I've had several discussions, and at this point, they have no interest in doing a countywide coverage.
I get countless emails from the west side talking about, showing pictures of their kids eaten up with mosquitoes. We get more hit by our canals and ditches not being cleaned and blamed on that, but even cleaning them, there's swamp out there that we're never going to be able to do anything with. To spray this county in parts is almost as silly as having fiber in parts or broadband in parts, thinking you're covering the county. And I feel this way, if they've had a chance, which I have talked to them countlessly, you have talked to them, there is no interest they've shown, then we've got to get it done. Our job and our duty is to get it done and make sure it happens. And I think it's very important that we do. I mean, or we can declare there's no public gatherings for them and say we can do like Commissioner O'Brien, or Chairman O'Brien said, but that ain't going to work. We need to get them resolved.
Well, I agree. We provide a lot of services that are countywide. The density of population doesn't justify the services that we're providing in those areas, but nevertheless, we provide them countywide. Anastasia Mosquito Control does that in St. Johns County, but they are shifting rapidly to a regional operation because of this irrigation project. And I believe that the irrigation project, if it's on track to do what I think it'll do, is going to change the face of mosquito control in the next 3 or 4 years.
Is it possible to get them to present to the commission to come and answer our questions and talk about, I'm a little unfamiliar with their processes and their programs, so I need to become a little bit more educated in this area. But again, I would like to, whether I go and have that meeting with them or if they come here, I just, from the public standpoint, they may gain more about the operations of the district as well if they present.
Absolutely, we can do that. I do need to remind you that mosquito season started May 1st.
We could also, if we get this done with St. John's or with them up there, and our mosquito control gets their act together and wants to come back in it, we can revisit that with them, can't we, for the next year, or is this?
Well, absolutely. If they wanted to do their millage assessment across county and just provide everybody with mosquito control, that's definitely the simplest way to do it. And I suspect that they will work with Anastasia on the irrigation process when it becomes available, because they have to have a breeding facility up in St. Johns County where they raise mosquitoes, so they will have mosquitoes to irrigate.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we all understand that This is a separate fund, in your millage bill that supports mosquito control. And we're going to pay that if you live in the eastern part of the county, no matter what. So this is additional funds coming out of our general fund to do this. And well, at least part of it.
Yes.
So the question I have is, if it's such a great deal, why isn't the state mosquito control czar directing all the various mosquito control groups that get funding this way to do this? Is that the ultimate objective,
I'm not sure I understand the
Well,
question.
my point is, Florida for over 100 years, well over 100 years, mosquitoes were the big problem. People came here and died from yellow fever, or whatever it was again. And this fund was set up to eradicate as best as possible mosquito disease in Florida. And it's continued, and we have this separate fund that supports mosquito control.
I don't believe that the state of Florida set up a fund. I believe.
But they authorized us to do it
They
through millage rate.
authorized the creation of a mosquito control
Right.
district.
And I don't think we have any control over that particular fund directly. We
You
don't
don't.
vote on it.
That's completely a separate
So,
entity.
I mean, the other option here would be just to tell the state, has any county done that? Just, we'll take care of the mosquitoes on our own?
Yeah, counties do take care of the
Yeah.
mosquitoes on their own.
Okay, so I think there's a big, I'm just saying, I think what you're trying to do here is correct, but there may be a bigger question here about, well, is the mosquito control that we pay in as part of our millage rate doing its job? If they're unwilling to do something like this? Or should we ask, I don't know, I just think there's a bigger question here.
It's a district with geographic boundaries, and the people in the district pay for the
Right.
service. So, but to your point, this expense would be from ad valorem taxes.
Right, for
Paying
everybody.
for folks, for service outside
Yeah.
that district.
It'd be for any deficit in what's being assessed to those districts. You could assess enough to cover the whole thing, but any deficit would be covered by general fund.
Commissioner Dance?
Yeah, sorry, I forget to turn that thing off. I guess I do have a question. I mean, we were handed the spreadsheet with the costs, so we've got Rima Ridge, Espanola, Daytona North on here. Those are funds that the county paid out of our general fund for mosquito spraying over the last 8 years?
No, sir. Those are funds for cost for surveillance. Proposal. This whole sheet is a proposal.
In years past, though, we're going back.
They are estimating their cost to go into these areas during the mosquito season to do the surveillance. I can provide to you what we have spent years past, but it is probably not going to amount to this because we haven't sprayed near as often as people would like for us to spray. So if we sprayed on the schedule that's anticipated in this proposal, then our cost would have been much higher, would have been much higher than the actual historical cost.
So again, I'm just not clear. So we've got past years on here with dollar amounts. What were
No, sir.
those?
We do
No.
not. Those are proposed fees, not passed.
The mosquito spraying is similar to the insecticide spraying, and I do those at my complex. And every time they come out and spray one of our apartment complexes and they can't get in certain units, the bugs will go from the unit they sprayed to the unit that's safe, and then they just come right back out. And the mosquito spray is similar to that. If we don't blanket and treat a consistent area, we're really wasting our time here. So,
I don't have that.
I think it's important and crucial, whatever way we do it. I'm not worried about how we do it. I'd just like to see us do it.
I can go by what I have.
Mr. Cameron, can we, my suggestion is, there's definitely some confusion here. Can you just put this on the agenda? I know it's 2 weeks later, but can you put this on as an official agenda item for our next meeting?
Absolutely.
And let's get it done properly that way with proper discussion and information. Okay? Is
Okay.
that,
It
Commissioner,
helps
all right?
because I don't have the same thing that Greg's looking at, so
So are we okay with that?
that's fine, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that's fine. That's
Fine with me.
Well, obviously, what happened is you got, when I picked it up, I must have picked up another sheet. You don't have the correct sheet. If you're looking at historical data,
That's what it just says, mosquito spraying costs, and it goes back to 2014, 15, so that's where my questions were coming.
okay.
All right, let's,
If you would run that over to me.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Yeah, no, we got the same thing.
Sorry.
Accidentally.
that's okay.
That's a different.
We'll bring this up. All right, we're fine. We're going to agenda this item for 2 weeks and handle it that way. Okay, thank you.
And have the mosquito control people here.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Okay?
How about we have both?
Anything else, Mr. Cameron?
That's it, sir.
Mr. Adid?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board. In the course of proceeding with the work on the dunes, a bill passed out of the Senate, which was alarming to us because of its impact on our project. This occurred about April 22nd. The Senate passed a bill that placed a hard stop on the duration of emergencies declared at the local level to a maximum of 42 days, with no opportunity to extend beyond that 42 days. This was part of a larger bill that was being developed in both the House and the Senate that were endorsed by the political leadership of both of those bodies, both of them coming at it at slightly different ways, but both of them responding to what they perceived as excesses by local governments relative to the pandemic. So there are very significant accountability and limitations that were being placed on local governments in these two bills. The bill that I referenced that passed the Senate about April 22 put a hard stop at 42 days. That would be the end of the time that a local government could exercise emergency powers. You could not get around it, according to the bill that passed, by saying that the circumstances had changed and you're now dealing with another aspect of that same emergency. It prohibited that potential workaround. So that obviously was alarming to us because, as you know, our hurricane emergencies continue for the reason that they are essential to our ability to restore the dunes when we need to. We use them for procurement purposes, intergovernmental purposes, and other purposes to facilitate our work. So noting that, in fact, my recollection is that I actually was at the Flagler Beach City Commission, their regular meeting. As you know, I attend all of their regular meetings to give an update on the dunes. And I was waiting for my time. I showed up, I happened to accidentally, as you all know me, accidentally show up very early. So I didn't have anything to do, so I got on my iPhone and just started reading what had happened during the day. And I saw the bill and I read it. And I recall that when I got up to address the Flagler Beach Commission, I said, look, I have to dispense with what I was going to tell you and inform you about this situation. And I was very concerned about, because they benefit from our ability to extend the emergency as well. So they actually authorized me to, because time was of the essence. I mean, there was only a week, maybe 10 days at max left in the legislative session. So they authorized me to contact the League of Cities, which is that's the entity they deal with on issues affecting cities legislatively. And of course, I contacted the Florida Association of Counties. I went through Mr. Cameron and told him about the situation. He supported our efforts. So this was going to be, what do we call it? We call it a legislative Hail Mary to try to revise this particular bill, but to make sure that neither bill from the House or the Senate would impose a hard stop duration on the ability of local government to enact emergencies, to issue orders, to pass emergency ordinances, et cetera. The bills were unpopular with the county emergency management directors, the totality of the bills. But these are what are called must-pass bills. In other words, the leadership of the House and Senate determined that they needed to do this major overhaul of the Emergency Management Powers Acts. So this was really fighting that direction, even though we had the emergency managers from all the counties on our side and the State Emergency Management Association on our side and the league on our side and the Florida Association of Counties on our side. Now, this is in the context of the legislature having numerous preemption bills. This is one of those preemption bills. And we put together a very convincing set of talking points that hurricanes don't know hard stops, wildfires don't know hard stops. They don't abide by a calendar as to the duration and the impact that they bring, the period of recovery that is necessary for those kinds of impacts. And we were able to, by the way, with some excellent work, I have to thank very much Jonathan Lord, who was a great counselor about what the state emergency management people were thinking and who would be behind this attempt to get an exception. And Mr. Moylan in my office, who did very rapid research so we could zone in on what we needed to do, what kind of amendments we needed to get in front of the Senate or the House. And that process worked. I want to say I reached out to Commissioner Mullins because I knew that he was familiar with certain members of the Volusia legislative delegation that would be key to a resolution here. And we were able to get an amendment made by actually by the House sponsor of the emergency bill in the House to exclude local governments in terms of addressing emergencies that were caused by hurricanes or other weather-related events. So that amendment passed in the Senate and in the House finally on the last day of the session. The last day of the session was Friday, May 1. So they enacted that exception so that we are free to continue to address our hurricanes and weather-related emergencies. A lot of cities and counties that would be affected by those issues help drive this issue as more and more people realize the negative effect of the hard stop. There was an effort to broaden the amendment that had been made by the House sponsor, which, by the way, was adopted in the House and the Senate, to broaden it to include like red tide. You can imagine all the different areas of the states where they have their own peculiar kinds of emergencies. You know, think of Indian River County, Brevard County with the red tide. Think of the West Coast, Southwest Coast with blue-green algae. So they were all trying to expand the exclusion, the safe harbor, if you will, from these new requirements that were going to restrict local government. Now, they weren't successful. I'm sorry they weren't successful. At the very end of the session, it's very hard to get these things passed. But I want to thank all of those that contributed to that effort. Many we won't even know. But the League of Cities, they were real champions. The number of the other counties that are affected by hurricanes and weather-related events, of course, they obviously pushed for this. And I'm sure that Jonathan reached out to his counterparts in the field. And of course, we were interacting with the lawyers and the lobbyists that were interested. Our own lobbyist spoke with the legislative assistant of Representative Renner to make sure he understood what we were doing and what we were attempting and why. So I'm very pleased to tell you that those efforts were successful, and now that bill is headed to the governor with that exclusion for hurricanes and weather-related emergencies. So unless you have any questions, that's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adid.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick. Representative Leak really appreciated the input that you did, you sent Mr. Hadid, and was glad to make those adjustments and changes, and wanted you to know that he is always there, his door is always open, and he's listening. And that was pushed also by Representative Renner, who has just been a superstar for Flagler County.
Okay, we'll move on to the second community outreach portion of our agenda. Again, it's a 30-minute time frame allocated for public comment on items not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. So please come forward, identify yourselves, and address comments to the chair. All right, seeing no one come forward, we'll close the community outreach portion, and we'll finish up here with commission reports or comments or actions. And Commissioner Dance?
No, sir, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple questions, Jerry. What in our procurement policy, do we give preference to local vendors?
We
And
do
if so,
have
what?
a preference, and it's set up on points. I can get Holly Durance if she's still here.
I got a couple emails.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we always give them, it's never enough. We
Right.
always get those, there's never enough preference. We try to balance out the interest of local businesses with getting the best deal for the people that are actually paying for it, and that's the taxpayer.
Right. So they do get a break, but it's.
Yes, well, they
occasionally not
get an
enough.
additional consideration. I wouldn't
Yeah.
call it a break.
Okay, fine. I was accosted over the weekend by Mr. Paul Persis about why we can't settle with the money, Al, with the money situation on the dunes. And I referred them to Al's email, which kind of laid out where we are right now. And they're not buying it. They think we're stalling. So just for information, and I'd like to.
Can I respond to that?
Oh, sure. I was going to sit down with you afterwards and respond to that later.
Well, we actually have engaged in very considerable effort because
I
they
know.
let us know exactly what you just said.
Right.
They did not agree with our analysis.
Right.
And so, under the leadership of Jorge, the Chief of Staff, we gathered all the pertinent department heads. We've had 2 extensive sit-down sessions with all of us and kept them apprised that we were doing that. I mean, from the very inception that we were doing that. And now I actually just saw the meeting invite. We're scheduled to meet with them this coming Friday. I think we're meeting this coming Friday with them to go over
Them being Ocean Hammock and Hammock Dunes?
Ocean Hammock.
Ocean Hammock.
Ocean Hammock. Mr. Pershey's is.
Yeah, he's the one
HOA.
driving, yeah.
Yes, so we've scheduled that to meet with them. We have particularized the data. They had voiced various issues to us. We run all of them down and are prepared to address them all with them.
Good, good. I think that's
Commissioner?
needed. Thank you for doing that.
Commissioner, I fail to understand why anybody would assume that we're stalling. There is nothing in it for the county to stall. The best outcome for the county is to expediently do this. But until this is completely closed out and we understand exactly what credits, what expenses that we have, it is difficult to give them something that is equitable to both them and the other taxpayers in the county that would pick up anything that we paid in excess to them as to what they were due. I suspect that they will have some small amount that's due to them when we finish this process, but we have personally guaranteed them over and over and over again that they will not pay 1 penny more than the actual cost to put that sand on their beach.
Yeah, I understand that. And so I think it's good we're going to meet with them and get that. We need to get that off the table.
I have a correction. It popped up on my iPhone that the meeting is a week from this Friday,
Okay.
not this coming.
Well, that's fine, as long as it's on the schedule. Back to the people that don't have water, I want to just compliment Tim Telfer, who's been working on that project for 3 years. 3 years he's been working on this, and we're finally going to get it done. Tim, thank you for all your work on that. And I want to thank Jared for putting the clock in the right spot. Thank you, Jared. Nothing else.
Commissioner Mullins?
Yeah, a couple of things. The dirt and ditch work notices that the county's putting out are really just doing a great job communicating with the West. It's always seems like someone will come on there and say, we're not doing any dirt work or doing any ditch work, and I can post that to them, and it calms them down, and they see that we are. I know we've got years of deferment out there, and we are gradually chipping away at it, but they really appreciate it, and it's been a really positive thing, and I hope we can continue to do it and keep communication. The YouGov Flagler app, I've heard nothing but compliments on it, and I refer people to there. It's really cut down on a lot of emails. It's cut down in a lot of giving them the direction to go to. I agree with Commissioner Hanson. We need to, in every way we look at with this county, I'd love to see us spend local and do more inside our county with businesses in our county, stakeholders in the county, so we can start renourishing and regurgitating that money throughout our county and not let it go to other counties. So I agree with him on that. That's a really important thing. And then the final thing I want to say about my stance with the events and the mask, it's well known, my brother ran the largest burn center in the world and was very adamant about 4th of July injuries being at the top. And it's just uncontrolled fireworks is something that scare me as a citizen. They go on all through the night. You don't have control of them. People complain. We're encouraging people to break the law by doing it because there are laws against it. So I just think it sends out a real mixed message, and to put risk at that is important to minimize that during that day. And there's so much documentation that that's the #1 day for burns, and it's because of fireworks, hands blown off, faces. So that's why I'm so adamant about controlled events like that. And I hope our public safety continues to keep that in their forefront. Other than that, I'm good. That's it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just one quick item, and this is a future item. But there has been one update. The state legislature, the budget and the laws that ordinance went through, one of them is to change the rules on public notices in which newspapers have to be used for that. So I do think it would make more sense to me if we could get someone qualified in Flagler County, like our current observer, to qualify for being the issuer of public notices. We could not have to use the Daytona paper. And part of my concern there is, over the last couple of months, the paper seems to have nothing good to say about our county. I understand they have freedom of press and they can say whatever they want about individuals, but when they start condemning actions taken by the Board of County Commissioners and not kind of give the other side, I think the time has come for us to look at that. And if this law that was just passed becomes reality, I'd like to see us push forward. It's the same item of buy local. It's a buy local thing as much as anything else. And I hope we can continue to move in that direction, but I realize it won't happen very soon.
I understand that it would take effect in 2022.
Right. But we ought to, I just want it on the books.
Anything else, Commissioner?
No, that's it.
Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Or adjourn, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry you got that wrong.